What's up, everyone? Hey. We are so back. We are so back. All right. Helen, what's up? Nice to see you. Yo, I'm back. I survived. Had a good time. Had a really good time. And now we are so back. What do you mean? Oh, the lighting? The lighting is a little weird. I don't mean for it to be. Hey, Michelle, how are you? I'm so sorry today about the meeting. I'm so sorry. I totally did not know. I feel so bad. I apologize. I need to there's enough stuff in my life going on now. I need to every day just live by my agenda, which is honestly a good thing, right? Because there's just a lot of happening and things are in a good way picking up, but it's yeah, it's my bad. Totally messed up. Yo, Helen. Amazing, Helen. That's so cool. 300-day fan club, Helen. You're awesome. Hey, Envy, how are you? We're back. We are so back. We are so back. We're so back, guys. We're so back. Dude, I'm feeling really, really good. I had such a refreshing little break. Yeah, my wife, her breaks, when they come, it's very hard in between it happens and everyone's like, oh my gosh. And I always think oh, I'm going to be able to get things done, or I'm going to be able to do things, or something's going to happen. And then in reality, it's always better just to take breaks when she takes breaks, because then we're hanging out, right? We're in recovery together. We're in party mode together, it's just better to kind of take that break time together. Oh, no way, dude. Stop the stupidity. Another 5 gifted. Wow, dude. Thank you so much. Stop the stupidity in YouTube, man. Dude, thank you so much genuinely for all the generosity that you've shown this channel, dude. I really appreciate you. Dude, for real, launching them out for real. Yeah, I want to take advantage of it. It's we don't get to hang out often, my wife and I, in terms of dates and stuff like that. And then when she's taking it off, she she has work and school right now, and so when she gets it off, it's like, I want to be in sync with her, and really it just gets me some more time with her when she's already so nose to the grindstone. So that's really what it is, kind of like getting extra time with her, because um yeah, I feel so unnerved right now not working, that I'm always kind of in a uh a state of agitation of like, I need to be working, I need to be working on something. So I'll kind of always be working on safe or the stream or something else. And so it's actually really nice to have those times where it's just like, no, we're just going to completely break free. I'm not going to even touch my phone. We're just going to hang out. And yo, Cole, what's up, man? It's really cool to just have those moments, just have like me and her and the family. And we went to the beach today and it was amazing. So fun. Just like picture perfect San Diego beach day. I mean, seriously, like 75, nice breeze just to kind of like get it going. And my boys are so fearless in the waves and the boogie boarding and stuff. So I've decided, like, after watching them today, I was like, I'm gonna get them wetsuits, and we're gonna be I'm gonna get surfboards for them. It's so cheap. The kids' surfboards are only like $50, so it's like it's not that bad. Wetsuits are $50, and then we can give them like foamies for like cheap. So yo, Del Mar's great. Love Del Mar. Yeah, all the San Diego beaches are incredible. I mean, best in the world, for real. And like it's just cool because yeah, I had such a good time. It was a beautiful sunset. I had like I've had this dream of wanting to surf with all my kids and Kristen at the same time, and it's like actually coming to fruition. The boys are, old enough now that they can pass swim tests and stuff, so they're good to go out in the water. And yeah, and now we're here. It's so cool to see them like grow and be fearless in the water. And oh, what's up, Corey? I'm streaming.
Oh, hi. Good evening.
Good, man. Hi, Brenta. How about paddleboarding? Helen, paddleboarding is its own beast. That is its own thing. I love all different types of water vessels. You know what I mean? So if it was like paddleboarding or nothing, I'm down. But like I surf, so I like to be on Happy 4th, bro. The I like to be on the board and then kind of doing it that way. Paddleboarding, if you're not aware of what you're doing, you can kind of be a big meanie head in the water kind of easily. So yeah, it's not okay. Envy, I miss San Diego. It's just so expensive. I was paying $1,600 for 100 square feet. Oh man. Okay. Brenta, what's up? Ichthyus, physicalist, leftist, and veteran. Good to meet you. Good to meet you, Brenta. Thanks for coming in. Here in Portland, it's $941 for 400. Oh man. Yeah, that's tough. That's tough, MB. I mean, the San Diego rent is no joke. It's absurdly expensive. Um, it's very, very expensive. Yo, Prime, how's it going, man?
Hey.
I'm streaming. Um, San Diego is crazy, and it's only going up in costs too. The rent and the housing costs are only going up more than average. California building codes need to change so that there's a massive supply overload. Yeah. Basically, you just need to build more homes. It's basically the easiest way to fix the problem. Yeah. All right, guys. Well, shall we?
Yeah, one moment.
And I have the stream together link in the
Okay.
chat.
Thank you. Boom. Perfect.
One moment.
Cool. In.
Yeah. Well, whenever you guys are ready.
All
Give me
right.
about 15 seconds. Okay, ready. Sorry.
Oh, all good, bro. All good. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have some interesting articles this week on the anti-MAHA headquarters, pro-science, power hour, whatever you want to call it. It's kind of like a two-parter system, the two-parter thing. But basically, the Supreme Court rejected the lawsuit alleging Roundup weed killer caused cancer. So the court's decision is likely to determine the future of thousands of lawsuits against Bayer, which manufactures the weed killer, over similar claims. So Bayer owns Monsanto, and Monsanto creates two products. One is an herbicide that has glyphosate in it, which is a chemical that attacks and kills plants. And if you have a special little cassette of DNA inside of your genome, if you're a plant, then you're protected from this. This is why Roundup Ready corn can survive glyphosate, because they have a little defense DNA code in their genome. The Supreme Court on Thursday sided with the manufacturer of the weed killer Roundup, overturning a jury award for a Missouri man who claimed the widely used herbicide caused cancer, in a decision that could have sweeping impacts on thousands of other Americans who similarly claimed the product sickened them. In a 7-2 decision written by Kavanaugh, the majority found that a federal law that regulates pesticides barred the Missouri man's lawsuit. So basically, there's a federal law that regulates pesticides, saying that if the EPA says something's safe, then they don't have to put something on it. And there was a lower court that said, no, we found that this did cause a problem. And Monsanto's saying, hey, EPA is saying that this is safe. This district court saying that we have to put something on our thing. Why is that okay? And then last paragraph, Justice Kavanaugh wrote that the Missouri case would, quote, require a cancer warning on Roundup's label, end quote, which would directly conflict with the label required by the federal EPA. Because of this conflict, he wrote, federal law, quote, expressly preempts, end quote, the Missouri man's claim. So,
yeah. So, so from what I understand, it's like, let's say the decision was largely driven by like, essentially like there's this conflict between, federal law and state law. And like, since the EPA determined that Roundup was essentially safe, and that basically it seems like Roundup or whatever, Bayer was like following the label guidelines by the EPA, but then they were not technically, I guess, following the state guidelines. And that's where sort of like the conflict arose. But then like, whatever, I guess the federal understandably overrides the state, or rather, well, from Bayer's perspective, they were following all the laws, and it doesn't make much sense, understandably, of like, the state holding them liable when they're following the EPA federal guidelines.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Fine.
Yeah.
And I also like, I agree with the decision. And so I understand, one of the reasons why, even though I guess like this is not strictly, a MAHA topic, because I think there's definitely people on the left that are, opposed to Roundup. Not that I'm super pro Roundup of like people should add to their coffees or whatnot, but like I know that this spans, from what I understand, like across the aisle. Even though I think it's largely, MAHA is super focused on it. But I think even we saw in like the dissenting opinion, there's one of the liberal judges dissented, right? Although I think they dissented due to the fact that like whatever, not due to them not not due to the science, but rather like the reading of the law, interpretation of the law, if I interpreted the article correctly. But all that to say, even though this is a conservative Supreme Court and they're making this decision makes sense to me.
I think it does too. What do you think, Prem?
I don't know about like. I feel like this is. I feel like they give states special permission to do all kinds of things. I mean, they just gave states permission to decide whether, trans people can be a part of their of sports.
Sure.
And how to regulate that. Like having extra regulations on a product. I mean, I don't know that. Like sorry, by that means like extra labeling. That sounds pretty reasonable to me. Especially something that's dealing with our food source. So I don't know. I'm more torn on this.
Yeah, I understand.
But I can be convinced. Okay.
I think I understand being torn, and in some sense, I am too. As in, am I opposed to labeling? And let's say to the good point that you brought up, states have exceptions all the time, and generally speaking, conservatives tend to be all about states' rights, right? And so one would think that they would want to uphold states' rights in this case. And so, am I opposed for a state imposing their own, unique labeling laws? My answer is no. But then, would I want a state to impose having Roundup a label as a carcinogen? My answer is no to that. That's where I would be torn.
Yeah, I mean it's a tough decision. I mean, imagine this went the other way, and then you had pro raw milk advocates saying, "Hey, pasteurized milk isn't 100% safe either. There's been problems with that." And they say, "Okay, well, if we're gonna have a warning label on raw milk, we should have a warning label on pasteurized milk and put that on there." When the EPA is like, "Well, we've studied pasteurized milk and it doesn't deem necessary to have that on there." But I could see some companies just being like, I guess it's the cost,
if it were
right?
the opposite, my opinion. Sorry to interrupt.
My
opinion would probably change. As in, if the EPA was saying that Roundup is a carcinogen, but then this state was saying, well, actually, it's not. I would be in probably a different position, right?
For sure. No, I agree with that. Yeah, I mean, I think that the malady and if it's actually doing harm, then having it at the federal level would absolutely, because then it's like a free, it's like a freedom issue where you can't just because you're in some parts of the country doesn't mean that it's okay for you to have carcinogens pushed on you. You know what I mean? Yes, it's a civil rights kind of act in my opinion for that. Yeah, it's interesting. I would agree with them here in the fact that if the EPA has studied it, what's the point of the EPA then if state law can just oversee it? I think it just creates two different markets, right? Where you have to have a different bottle with a different label, and it impugns your credibility. So,
well, I mean, just to Steelman, maybe the other side, or maybe Steelman Prime's went a little bit more. Not that he can't do it himself, but and maybe slightly different because Canada is whatever 7-8 provinces, and the United States is 50 states. But we have different labeling based off of provinces. As in Quebec,
oh really?
There's a huge emphasis. Yeah, there's a huge emphasis on French labeling, and
of
Quebec
course.
usually has its own regulatory bodies as well.
Oh, that's a good point.
And so let's say that does not appear to be a hurdle, but I understand 50 states is definitely different than, whatever, 7-8 provinces. And territory.
Sounds like a very Quebec thing to do. First of all,
It is a very Quebec thing to do.
So,
We are a unique nation within a united Canada.
beautiful.
Fair enough.
Happy 4th of July.
I mean, I am sensitive to the thought of like creating, onerous regulatory burdens. Now, I don't give a damn about Monsanto, right? Like, F those guys.
Neither do I.
But like the principle, I understand, right? Like, and you wouldn't want that for like other companies. And I mean, you can imagine in unfavored company, like let's say within the South or something, right? Like getting some sort of like onerous like labeling regulated onto them, and then you have to like manage that or not be able to sell. I can see that being a problem. Like I said, it's not gonna hill I'm gonna die on here. I can see things from the other side, but I just leave it there.
Yeah, it is tricky. That's what, like I said, my position would flip, as in like if the EPA had what I perceived as the wrong position on the science, I would be on the state side if they were saying something different, as in the state was saying, oh, this is not a carcinogen, so you don't need to put the labeling on, or if anything, like you should not put the labeling on, right? And so I guess I'm being inconsistent in that regard, or rather.
So should raw milk be labeled? Even I'm not sure what the federal position is on raw milk, but if it's not, if the federal position is that it is safe to sell, within like in whatever markets they do, but I think it's safe to sell. Would you all say that you don't want the states to be able to, attach something there?
Yeah, that's a question. That's a good question, and that pokes a hole like in my or in my position, because it's like, if the EPA was saying, it's like, or determining that raw milk is safe or is comparable in safety to pasteurized milk, and that is reflected in the labeling, or that's like their labeling guidelines, I would totally then be advocating for like, okay, states have to be able to like override this. This is like a bad position.
I'm asking Opus about the raw milk regulations for the labeling right now. Short answer, there's no federal labeling scheme specific to raw milk for human consumption because federal law bans its interstate sale outright. Labeling requirements exist only at the state level.
Okay, interesting. But we can imagine a world where if those laws were changed and interstate commerce was a thing.
Yeah, interesting. From the article, the Trump administration joined the case on Bayer's or Monsanto's side, reversing the position taken by the Biden administration. The Trump administration support for the Roundup manufacturer has been controversial among the MAHA movement, whose activists had largely supported Mr. Trump's 2024 campaign. Zen Honeycutt, founder of Moms Across America and advocate for the MAHA movement, on Thursday called the decision, quote, worse than treason, end quote, and said it reflected a betrayal of Trump's promises to the MAHA movement. Quote, it really is chemical warfare on the American people, she said, end quote. Vani Hari, a food activist and leading voice in the MAHA movement, known as the Food Babe, God, kill me, quote, it's really sickening, end quote. She said the
glyphosate health and wellness influencer.
God, exactly. She has 100,000 followers, so now she gets quoted in New York Times. She said that glyphosate, the active ingredient in Roundup, quote, becomes the midterm issue, end quote. That is, I don't know about that. I don't know, but he has done a lot of stuff to support the manufacturing of glyphosate and to support this stuff. I mean, I think it honestly comes down to the farmers, like probably the farmers union, and trying to like shore up those bases. That's the only thing I could think politically why he's so steadfastly for this stuff.
And
or he just got paid by Monsanto. I mean, simple.
Oh, he's getting so much money from other. He's getting billions from Trump going. I don't know if Monsanto even tickles him.
But at least based off of the quote that is in the article that they're quoting Ketanji Brown Jackson, so the quote is Justice Jackson wrote that in her view, the majority had misunderstood the scope of the federal law, leaving the Missouri man without a remedy for the significant harms he has suffered. So at least based off of that, so I may be extracting a little bit, but it sounds like she views it that the glyphosate has harmed this farmer. And that's where I would disagree. Or rather, that's her position.
In the original lawsuit, Mr. Durnall said the company should be liable for failing to warn users about the risk of developing non-Hodgkin's lymphoma from exposure to glyphosate. In 2023, a jury in the Circuit Court of City of St. Louis, a state court, sided with Durnall. So, and that's how it got to the Supreme Court. So it's just like, how could like a state court, a circuit court in St. Louis is going to have overriding judgment on whether or not something is deemed like cancerous or not? I don't know. It seems weird. That just seems weird to me. I don't feel like that's the right way to decide that.
Courts prove harm all the time, though. So I mean, like, yeah. I mean, when the federal government doesn't work, like, yeah, you'll take it to court like this. You know, this is a pollution thing, and you can prove harm. That you know, cancer rates are increasing in this particular area, right? Like, not talking about glyphosate in particular, but just, like smog or something, right? Like, you're in Cancer Alley and like you look at the cancer rates and they've been increasing, and then you can get redress there.
Just from they mentioned the EPA in the 2020 decision. So I just wanted to read what the EPA actually says about glyphosate. So after receiving and considering public comments on the glyphosate proposed interim decision, the EPA published the interim decision registration review for glyphosate. As part of this action, the EPA found that there's no risk of concern to human health when glyphosate is used in accordance with its current label. EPA also found that glyphosate is unlikely to be a human carcinogen. The ID also identified potential ecological risks to non-target organisms, primarily non-target plants, through spray drift, which I think is absolutely the runoff from farms is significant, and it would be absolutely detrimental to the environment. The ID identified interim risk mitigation measures in the form of label changes, including spray drift management language, herbicide resistance management language, a non-target organism advisory, and certain label consistency measures. And this happens every 15 years. So this would be up in 2035 to do glyphosate again.
I mean, yeah, I'm definitely not opposed, like, relitigating this as new research comes out. Like, definitely, to be clear, I'm not saying that absolutely, we know for certain that, glyphosate is 100% safe, at least as of now. Like, I think it's so far the evidence strongly points in the direction of it being essentially safe and the typical uses.
I mean, from what I've heard, the studies of it actually causing harm, I mean, we're talking to the level of like 2,000 pickles. Like 2,000 cucumbers, sorry. Like, the level that you would have to eat in order for it to be like bad at your working level, because it's not only is it sprayed on the plant, but then it's sprayed, it's going to be handled and then washed, and then you're going to have it like
some sort of limit.
Yeah.
And maybe farmers, or like one particular farmer, this might be a unique case. I'm not totally ruling out the possibility that, I don't know if the farmer is not taking appropriate. I don't know what safety precautions are recommended when using Roundup, but I imagine they're pretty standard. But maybe not. But like, yeah, I can imagine a world where a farmer, through indirect exposure, but being, maybe exposed on a daily basis consistently, maybe it builds up. But even then, I'd be highly skeptical. But yeah, it's tough. Yeah, but from everything that I have seen so far, it tracks with what you said in terms of like the dose required to actually reach toxic levels, or what would be considered unsafe levels, is just not really. You're highly unlikely to encounter that in the real world.
Exactly. I mean, guys, we're not plants. I mean, I don't know. We're not a plant. I don't know what to tell you.
Hey, don't be so quick to judge. Some people say I have the intellectual capabilities of a plant. But at least the example that at least for me best illustrates, as in like, okay, if I tell if I inform people that your drinking water is filled with viruses, and I say actually every sip of water that you take from the tap, there are viruses in it, and if I ask the question, well, why don't you get sick? And I can point to, well, those viruses don't infect people, as in those are bacteriophages, as in those are specifically viruses that infect bacteria, and that's due to the fact that those viruses are species specific to bacteria, and that's why every glass of water that you drink, like, you are exposed to bacteriophages all around you. Okay, there's no getting away from them, as far as I can tell, and that is a testament to how important, or rather, how strong of a barrier species specificity is. Okay, as in if you can regularly be exposed, to viruses that are specific to bacteria for every sip of water or everything that you consume virtually on a daily basis, then I would say the same logic, although, we also have evidence, more or less, that species barrier of you not being a plant is a strong barrier for glyphosate not being toxic to you.
I just asked Opus, like, what would be the threshold to reach the amount of, like, corn, which is notoriously tons of glyphosate. So that'd probably be the highest exposure, I would assume. So in order to get to the point where it's detrimental to your health, we're talking, for the EPA, you're talking 40 kilograms of corn, or 250 ears of corn. You'd have to eat 200,000 kernels. For the WHO, or the EU is actually the most stringent. That's only 40 milligrams in one day that you're allowed to be exposed to. And that would be 11 kilograms of.
Well, to be
corn
fair, right?
ears.
Like, for this case, it's not about, for this particular case, right?
Yeah.
It's not about, like, eating. It's like what Corey said. He was talking about, use within a farm, right? Like, use within an agricultural processes. And in that case, I mean, like the label on the Roundup bottle, right, is not something that appears to the person eating the food that the Roundup sprayed on, right?
That's a good point.
Instead, it's for the farmer themselves. And I am not equipped to answer the question where glyphosates are safe, right? Like, I just not there. But it seems to me that, like, using that stuff daily, right? Having it flowing from your environment, that you can have that level of buildup, like, reasonably. But again,
No, but that's a reasonable intuition, and I don't actually really disagree. That's why I brought up the scenario. Like, I can imagine a scenario of, like, I don't know, if a farmer's not is being exposed literally on a daily basis, and I don't know, they're, like, not washing their hands appropriately, as they're handling it not without gloves, as in not following appropriate safety precautions. I can see that world where it builds up, but then it's like, well, yeah, I don't know. Again, I guess I'd have to consult. What are the safety precautions that are recommended when a farmer uses Roundup? Yeah. If there are none, then maybe that's a problem, and maybe then they should be held liable.
I mean, a lot of this is, like, because of mass spraying, basically just doing these huge barrels and these airplanes and then dumping it all across your acres. But and this is specifically also why we were looking into the lab that I was in, my PhD lab, like, trying to do, like, micro delivery of nutrients to plants, like, for this exact reason, to have less exposure for the environment, to have less runoff into the environment through that, and then also just more acutely deliver the exact nutrients as the plant needs when it needs it. So I think that is the future of farming, like, in general, kind of being able to see, in an area, like, oh, magnesium is lower in this area for all these plants, so you just kind of dosage all these plants in this specific area with more magnesium than normal, or something like that. Phosphorus or potassium or whatever that is, and in accordance with that, doing more targeted approaches for herbicides that are, like, more species specific, for sure. I would think that's kind of that's where farming is going to go. So I'd hope so.
Yeah, hopefully. I don't disagree with that. the last thing that I'll say on the article, and like, well, I think you brought up as well, Greg, of like, yeah, the fact that the New York Times is quoting the food babe, I think is poor form.
Yeah, that was wild.
What did they label her as? They label her as
The food babe.
an expert.
Yeah, it's just one of those MAHA influencers.
Leading voice in the MAHA movement.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, then fair enough. Okay. Well, I mean, if that's what I mean, then that's what she is, right? That's fair.
Yeah, I mean, she
if
is.
they're like
but
a
also,
food expert, an agricultural expert, then that'd be different, right?
No, but I like just the fact that because and I take your point, and it is true to it's not inaccurate to characterize them as the leading voice in the MAHA movement, but just the fact that let's say just appearing in the New York Times in and of itself sort of like lends credibility type of thing.
Fair. But
So-
I mean, then again, I mean, RFK Jr. is in the in the administration. I mean, like
True,
MAHA
true.
is already ascended, right?
It's very true.
I mean, I mean, not like I'm trying to defend these people. It's just that
No, I know that
I
you're not.
mean, the reality of the situation is a nightmare. So well, sorry. Did you want to? Say
Yeah, I
something
just
else,
wanted to
Corey?
real quickly. I asked Opus about like how common is it the exposure limits that we're seeing in these EU and EPA levels. So the EPA, the chronic percentage or amount is 1.75 milligrams per kilogram per day. So the worst case farmer, okay, 60% had detectable urinary glyphosate and 40% had none at all. So 60% had some detectable traces of glyphosate in their urine on exposure day when they're spraying. So this is the worst case scenario. So the worst case scenario was 440 times below the problem threshold that the EPA has. So the median farmer was 17,000 times below it. So we're talking like even the farmers that are during these things, they need to have their median glyphosate levels raised by 17,000 fold in order for it actually to have any like harm done to them. That at least that's what the studies are saying now.
To be as charitable as possible, like we might have found like the one farmer who was adding it to his coffee.
I mean, the problem I feel like is it's good to have these questions. I think it's good, right, in general, because it's like this new thing is happening, correlation, cancers are happening also at the same time. How are they related? I think that the studies are important. I'm not downplaying them. I just feel like sometimes, especially with these kind of like naturopath stuff, we're kind of always chasing their one thing. It's always they're not looking at the big picture. Why people are unhealthy? Well, because they're obese. Versus like, oh, it's the food dyes that are making us obese. It's the glyphosate that's getting us sick. It's it's like, no, I think in general it's a lot easier. The health route is a lot easier, but they needlessly complicate it in order to try to like sell organic foods and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and I can also understand, a farmer like searching for answers for their non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. Of like, we all like to be able to explain the causes of the negative things that happen to us. And so I understand like if his daily experience is dealing with Roundup, okay, and he has extensive experience with it, and he comes across articles or the food babe saying or getting the message, pushing the message of like how toxic it is and causes cancer. I don't necessarily blame the farmer for having in their mind of like, oh, I have non-Hodgkin's lymphoma.
Yeah.
I have dealt with the Roundup regularly. It must be the Roundup.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I think it's totally normal. It's a totally normal thing to go through. Like, going through like my mom dying of cancer. There are so many conversations at the end. Like, what did I do? What could I possibly have done to cause this? And she's trying to go through her mind, and you're trying to think about like, could that been it? Or it's a natural inclination in order to try to see like what's happening. And but that's at some point we have to kind of like trust the science, and we have to do a better study. And if one doesn't exist, then that's what our current knowledge is, and try to track down the actual culprit, right?
Yeah. I definitely agree there. I'm just trying to be, I guess, somewhat as
Yeah.
compassionate as possible in terms
Yeah.
of, not totally dismissing the farmer's experience.
No,
And
I'm with you.
I understand the motivation. The motivation for the lawsuit was probably not malicious. Okay, he probably does feel like genuinely hurt by whatever this chemical. But like, yeah, I agree with you. I am on the side of like the evidence, and I think the evidence, in my mind, I could be wrong. So far, there's not good reasons to believe that the Roundup is responsible for this. And as much as I don't necessarily like to side with the conservative Supreme Court, I think this is the right ruling.
Lift up our oligarchs and they make something correct. But this is the two-parter, guys. This is part 2. So Trump issues an order to reduce pesticides in food as Kennedy allies fume. The order, which calls for studying the health effects of pesticides in the food supply, does not involve new federal funding and does not call for regulation or legislation. President Trump, facing a backlash from supporters of Health Secretary RFK Jr. for allying himself with the chemical industry, issued an executive order on Thursday aimed at reducing pesticides in the food supply and studying the health risks they pose. The order does not involve new federal funding. It does not call for new regulations or legislation. Critics contended that it did little to meaningfully address the consequences of pesticide use. 2 White House officials said that it was basically time to coincide with a dinner Mr. Trump had for hosting a bunch of farmers. Titled, quote, Advancing Regenerative Agriculture and Strengthening American Farm Resilience, end quote. The president action amplifies an earlier order issued in February that commits $1 billion to invest in farm modernization and regenerative or pesticide-free agriculture. A man of the people, a true man of the people.
He solved it just as usual through executive order. No more pesticides in food. But yeah, at least from what I can tell, this was largely just like a ceremonial thing, just to show that he's taking action on pesticides to appease the MAHA movement. But I think the MAHA movement sees through it, at least according to the article, they see through it. Of like, yeah, this is probably not going to do anything.
Exactly.
And as usual, Trump is ruling by executive order. And whatever reason he gets away with it, or people, MAGA Republicans seem to think that ruling by executive order is somehow like effective.
Stop the stupidity. Thank you, Rude.
I don't know why.
Hey guys, I mean, yeah, the quote was pretty incredible at the end here. The executive order stops short of requiring meaningful action, end quote, said Vani Hari. She must be going by Maha Hadi or something. Is a close ally of Mr. Kennedy's who led the protest, adding, quote, Americans deserve more than another study. They deserve a clear plan for accountability to reduce unnecessary chemical exposures in our food supply. So I think, I honestly, like, I would be, I mean, unfortunately, they don't have a study to back up what they're claiming. They think that they do, but in reality, they do just need another study, a bigger, longer, more comprehensive study somehow, looking at methodology holes that were in the other ones and trying to do those. I mean, that is the actual power that they have as RFK being the head of a huge agency like that. And I mean, that is what progress looks like. It's just going to take, science takes a little bit of a time.
Yeah. And even though I think we're on the same page that,
dude, stop the stupidity. Thank you so much, dude.
Not really
You're
do much
amazing.
of anything, but even, the executive order in and of itself, to fully criticize it, it's mostly focused on like regenerative farming. So even though even if that was the direction that was taken and actual meaningful action was taken to promote or like implement regenerative farming, I'm quite confident that that's not the solution to our food problems, or at least that's not the true way forward in the food supply. Where, yeah, I'm pretty sure, as crude as it sounds to say, like, the bioreactors and embracing technology, I think, is the way forward. The regenerative farming. This is just another thing, from what I can tell, that MAHA has clung on to like, yeah, we need to farm better, move away from factory farming, and
Yeah.
go back to whatever 1950s style farming, but with maybe better environmental practices. That's about it.
Yeah, they're going the opposite way, man. All these guys are so pumped. They're all like GPS loaded. Everything is so high tech now. It's honestly a problem. Now a bunch of their tractors and stuff, now their subscription services, they don't own their tractors outright, and they can't even repair their own tractors anymore because like John Deere actually owns them, and they have to pay $1,000 a year or whatever for their contract. They can't like that old 50-year-old family tractor that was handed down from generation to generation will just never exist again, and they feel like they're constantly on the subscription model of getting bought out by bigger and bigger farms, and that definitely is true.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely against that practice. As from what I can tell, that's more or less like the Apple practice of like you can't repair your own device. You have to go through your approved Apple whatever Genius Bar, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
I think that's a really awful practice. And I agree with you, or rather, it sounds like you're against that practice as well, and you want farmers to be able to repair their own tractors and actually own them.
I think that would be a huge win for them, like to actually say that you own your own device just in general. I think that would be a big thing, like jailbreaking iPhones and stuff. That the fact that could be against TOS or something. It just all it does is create another thing that you're buying at the point of sale that you didn't know that you were buying. So I feel like it's fraud, right? You're kind of getting
or you arguably don't truly own whatever it is that you're buying,
which doesn't make any sense to me.
Which, well, I would think, or rather hope, that like the conservative movement would be like very staunchly and take meaningful action against these types of practices, because they're all about private property and protecting private property.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like, well, if you don't actually own your property, how can you? Well, you can't protect it.
Exactly.
You can't repair it.
Exactly, brother. I know. I totally feel it. What do you think, Prime? Do you think that that's like owning your own device? Is that something that you think that would be something that we could get these anti-big corporation, pharmaceutical company people all in line with on this? The kumbaya moment?
No, of course not. But like I'm largely for. I'm completely for. Being able to repair your equipment, to have the tools to be able to do so, have the knowledge to be able to do so, and for the repair, there's a name for it, but like you repair your stuff movement. And like there have been some court cases that have gone in our direction, and the EU has like done a lot actually. Shout out to the EU to make that possibility, right? Like we're gonna be seeing that from our phones real soon. Those court cases are changing the way phones are not court cases, excuse me. EU regulations are gonna be changing the way like Apple, Samsung, and all of them create their phones so that they can finally. You can open them up. You can replace batteries. You can have standardized, connectors. So that's fantastic. But what I actually want to move away from this, I want to talk about over since we're on Roundup, what your thoughts on the idea, because I believe Dr. Greg brought up at the very start, but on the idea of like Roundup Ready crops and how that works, right? Like crops, hopefully I'm not misstating this, but crops that have a genetic modification to make them resistant to a Roundup pesticide, right? And so when you use it on them, that they are, they'll be fine, but like the weeds around them will not be.
Exactly.
So do you think Roundup Ready crops are a good idea?
Yes.
Yeah, let's go there. Okay.
I'm on the opposite side, as in I don't think they should have a monopoly on that. Yeah, I'm actually, so I can be swayed on this, but right now leaning towards patenting a genetic modification. I think leads down to a bad path, and therefore, well, I'm also pretty consistent that I'm generally against intellectual property. So
Yeah, so this is my thought too. Because and if my understanding is incorrect, and I do apologize. This is not my area necessarily, right? But because they have it patented, it means they get to control the seed supply. That you can't have Roundup Ready crops that end up in someone else's um, full food, or sorry, not field, right? If they didn't necessarily pay for it. And then Monsanto gets to come after farmers, and then those Roundup, and they can't. Again, my understanding is they can't do. I don't call it seed cycling or something. There's a term for this.
Yeah, you have to
Basically,
consistently buy. Like you can't. You have to pretty much from what I understand, you have to consistently buy from Monsanto. You can't just like take the seeds from the crops that you're growing and like replant them. And
yeah,
also,
yeah.
from what I understand, this leads to some and I don't know how true these stories are, but I've heard stories of like farmers like weaponize this against other farmers. Like they'll take Roundup, ready seeds, plant them in another farmer's field that
And
don't
then
have
report
them,
them.
and then report them. Yeah, but
Oh,
I've
weird.
only heard reports of that. I don't actually know how true that is.
Yeah. And I don't know if that's true either, but it's something. I mean, you could do that. I mean, if Monsanto is as litigious as my understanding of them is, right? Then yeah, why not? Like you could easily screw someone over, like big time. The and the courts have allowed for this. So yeah, I'm with my friend Corey. I think it's horrible being able to patent genes. And lots of other things I shouldn't be able to patent or copyright or whatever. Um, and especially because of the knock-on effects. It's not simply that oh, I want credit for this, or that um, I I won't be able to monetize it without it. You could. It's that all of a sudden you have a level of control, and then you can use the law as a weapon against others who violate your intellectual property. In this case, farmers growing food. So yeah.
Yeah. So
Go ahead.
so the patent that they have is so basically inside of the plant is this gene called EPSPS, and that gene, if you modify it, you can modify it. It's within the plants, a lot of plants, and you can basically change it around in order for it to actually bind to glyphosate, so that you can grow and you can make these plants naturally glyphosate resistant. So it does exist. It does exist. But with Monsanto, and I've done that, by the way, with a couple of other plant cultivars and stuff. That's what we were doing. We were trying to give the Roundup Ready stuff without that little injection cassette. A cassette is basically, in molecular biology terms, it's the start, the end, and the protein in between that actually creates the thing that you want, and that's what they've been able to patent. So they can't patent any natural, and nobody can, a naturally occurring gene that's a wild type gene. But if you make something novel and a technology from DNA, then that becomes like the patentable product that then they could. So that's what Monsanto has the patent for. And technically,
Well, so to be clear, let's just clarify.
yeah,
At the end of the day, it's still just a DNA sequence.
correct, but it's a unique one. That's a unique technology that was created with the specific promoter, specific terminator, specific.
But it's just a DNA sequence. I understand
Correct.
the language you're using, but it's just a series of A's, T's, C's, and G's.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. But I take your point. Unique promoter and all that stuff, and almost certainly unique protein. But yeah. At the end of the day, it's just a DNA sequence. And so ultimately, they have patented a DNA sequence, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. As long as we're on the same page.
Yeah.
And you don't foresee any problems with that?
No, I mean, just because the same way, and people copyright books all the time, and it's still the same letters of the alphabet. You know, so it's just because it's the same letters of the alphabet, that doesn't mean that everyone shares the same copyright in poetry, right? You can use those characters in order to create something new and novel that's never existed in the world before. In the same way, through molecular biology, we can use those A, C, T's, and G's to create something novel that's never existed before in nature.
I don't necessarily. So I'm not 100% sure that analogy holds true 100%, but I have not fully analyzed it yet. But I take your point. There's definitely like some similarities, but for me, there is a little bit of a disconnect in terms of like connecting the letters of the alphabet to the whatever the nucleotides. But I take your point. But yeah, my one of my primary issues is like, so you say that whatever, since this does not occur in nature, okay, therefore that should make it patentable. But like, how do you know that it does not occur in nature?
I mean, I guess you don't know. We haven't sequenced everything that exists in nature, so we can't ever say that. But it's unique. It's unique to us. It's unique to us as humans that we can dig and see, and we can look through
and at
all
the end of the
different...
day, like it's not an idea, as in like, so I can foresee a world, and you probably know this, of like, what if I literally, I'm sure with enough tweaking, I can probably get away with like, actually, this should be feasible, as in like, I can change the DNA sequence and end up with the exact same effect.
Yeah.
And so should I be allowed to do that? So then, strictly speaking, I should be allowed to do that, right?
Yeah. So like that was literally the point. Through single point mutations, Cebus, the company that I worked for, did this entire thing. That was their whole point of like the products that they made through single point mutations. They basically created non-genetically modified plants that had Monsanto like capabilities. That was their whole curtail thing. So even in a world where technically Monsanto's stuff is genetically engineered, but technically Cebus's one, when we were just changing it point by point, since those are deemed natural mutations, that wouldn't be considered genetically modified, those organisms.
No, but like just to try to be a bit more clear, as in like, I can take the DNA sequence probably that Monsanto uses to generate their glyphosate resistance, change only one nucleotide, and have the exact same effect.
Not one over on the EPSPS. The endogenous means that it's already been in there. It's there already. You could do that. You could do successive rounds of single point mutations and UV.
No, sorry. I mean one.
Not a single one. No, not a single point mutation. You can't do that for EPSPS because it's not enough.
What when you say not, what do you mean by that?
It just, at least we not the ones that we had found. It was like several point mutations that were required in order to do something like that.
No. Like, okay, we're on the same page that glyphosate, okay, the cassette is just a DNA sequence.
Correct.
Right. And I should just be able to change. I haven't analyzed it, but I think they should work on paper of like changing only one nucleotide, and I have the exact same effect that Roundup Ready crops have.
Are you saying it like having a silent mutation?
He's saying like Roundup has, Monsanto has patented a sequence, right? And a sequence has a result. And so I believe what Corey is saying, that like within that pattern, right, that they have copyrighted or patented, right, that if he changes one of the nucleotides or whatever, right,
yeah, that's exactly right.
C to a G, yes, then and it has the same results, right? Like then he should be able to copyright it. Or what was your question then?
Yeah, that's as in like, can I get away with that?
Yeah. So basically patents have to be unique and a non-obvious step forward that someone with adequate molecular biology skills wouldn't wouldn't have done. So that is like the two presuppositions.
But
So-
the answer to my question is yes, right?
No, because it fails the second part, because that's
No,
just
sorry.
a standard. It would be a standard
the answer-
evolutionary thing that
Yeah,
you wouldn't be able
but
to patent
the answer
it.
to my but the answer to my original question of like I could change just one nucleotide and have pretty much the exact same effect that that Roundup Ready crops are having.
because not all mutations are similar, and you
Right,
could have a silent mutation that
right,
wouldn't
so-
change the amino acids.
So
and that
then,
would change-
so they did not patent a DNA sequence. They patented the effect.
Hmm.
I mean, I'm sure that the sequence would be the production of this,
but we just established that it's not.
I don't know what the original patent is. We can look at it.
Because this is the whole point of biosimilars, and I had this is where we can get to the weeds, no pun intended, on like biosimilars. But like I love to get into protein chemistry and protein biology, but like I can change around amino acids in many different ways and get the exact same, more or less the exact same protein effect. The same thing holds true at a DNA sequence.
Yeah.
So their original patent, yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I think, in essence, yeah. I mean, they're trying to create. Okay, so here we go. Methods for weed control, which is them. This is from them. Monsanto in Mexico. I don't know. Yeah, Monsanto Technology in 2006. The invention provides methods for weed control with dicamba and related herbicides. It was found that pre-emergent applications of dicamba at or near planting can be made without significant crop damage or yield loss. The techniques combined with the herbicide glyphosate to improve the degree of weed control and permit control of herbicide-tolerant weeds. So you're right. It's glyphosate for the use in an herbicide. That for sure, because then the patent you could use glyphosate in a different, unique way, and that would be a different patent.
Yeah, so they didn't patent the at least strictly speaking, they didn't patent the DNA sequence. They patented the effect.
The application of that thing for that reason. Yeah.
Right, but then if that's I think that covers them, and that's why it's like I have issues, as in like if they're patenting a DNA sequence, truly, I can be more on board with that because like as I just outlined, I can get around that pretty easily. Okay, just like any pretty decently trained molecular biologist could.
Yeah.
But like patenting the effect, I guess is like that I have also issues. I have more issues with that because like you have this monopoly now of like only we can use like this gives them the monopoly, and there's no way.
I'm not. To be clear, I'm not an intellectual property expert at all, right? But there is within intellectual property law, Western intellectual property law, that like a work has to be significantly changed, right?
Unique.
Like a significant update. So like even in the example that you gave, Corey, right? Again, I don't pretend to understand like what exactly was patented. Was it the sequence? Was it the effect or anything like that? Yeah. But if it was a sequence, right, then changing a C to a G or A to a D, right, like wouldn't be a significant change to a work. Right, like I can't take the Twilight books, right, and change a single word throughout the books and like, well, this is mine, right, and it's called noon. I don't know, right?
Yeah, no, that's fair.
Yeah. So I don't know. Again, that's a copyright. This is a patent. But I would imagine that would also be the case. But then also, again,
but then we're on the same page that Twilight should not have a monopoly on whatever teen vampire bad romance.
Oh, certainly not. Yeah. But like also with patents, again, I'm at the very edge of my knowledge here, and maybe someone in the audience has a better idea.
I'm ignorant as well on certain aspects of patents.
It's that so something that I know that companies do is that for patents specifically, and they don't do this in copyright, but for patents specifically, they like um patent like a whole series of variations, right? You see that in the biomedical field for like pills or something, right?
Yeah.
Like a bunch of like molecules that do roughly the same thing, very similar molecules, right? Or formulas at the very least, right?
Reformula. Yes,
That do,
I can give
yeah,
specific examples of that. Absolutely.
yeah, and then you can also see this in terms of electronics, where like yes, though there's one patent they actually plan to use, like for a video game controller, like this is a patent I'm going to use, but then they'll patent a whole bunch of very serious, slightly different, very similar, slightly different versions of the same thing as well, right? To I guess cover their bases so people can't copy them by making a slight alteration. So if it's under patent law, again, I mean, hopefully I'm not talking about up my ass. That one, I don't know if you could make a single point, right? Maybe you could still get around that, Corey, right? Maybe like you could change a series of nucleotides, and that would be enough rather than just the one, right? Um, uh, but yeah, like then it goes back to what you're saying. Like, what are they actually patenting? Are they patenting the sequence or are they patenting the effect?
Or both
So,
somehow. I like again. I don't know, but
or
like,
both. Yeah, yeah.
but that's where that's this further highlights my issues with patents. Like, what is a significant like effect or significant, significant iteration on a product or thing.
So you can have
'Cause it's like,
so basically you can have a process patent or you can have an individual formulation different patent. So for example, some of these there's basically different strategies in order to have different patents in order to have different things. Monsanto, a big company like this, is going to have a lot of different patents defensively, kind of like staking their space,
Defensive
saying
patents. That's what I was talking about.
saying like, hey, we not only just own like the use of doing this thing for the specific reason, but we have the patent in order to even make it. So it's going to be really hard for you. And then basically law offices hire people like me. This is the job that I'm actually trying to get, a technology specialist right now, where basically you get hired in to poke holes in other teams' patents and say, hey, no, that was actually pretty obvious what they did. They're trying to say that this was a huge leap forward or something. That's just a single mutation there, like anyone with knowledge of this would actually have already done it. So as I'm looking at it right now, methods for weed control. This is the 2007 one that we were thinking about. So that's a process patent, right? Methods for weed control, and of that, glyphosate is one of them. Another one, this is a 2013 patent, compositions and methods for controlling nematodes. So it's like another process patent. And then there's it's definitely, and then there's other ones. 1997, Monsanto, highly loaded ammonium glyphosate formulations. So that's going to be this glyphosate thing, and then they also have like the application of it. Therefore, so it's multifaceted.
yeah, for sure, and it's called, and I don't think that having this level of complexity is great, but that's just like my opinion and my analysis. But like to sort of bolster Prime's point in terms of like reformulation, and I'll give an example of like in that it relates to like my own personal life, and also to be clear, like I have in some ways benefit from patents because I take prescribed pharmaceutical drugs. But let's say there's a nice example of like a reformulation. Now, did this truly like result in a brand new patent? But let's say I'd encourage everyone to look into how this company sort of aggressively protects the intellectual property. But like I used to take the pharmaceutical drug called Humira, which is an injection. Okay, it's an antibody. Okay, and when this drug originally came on the market, okay, it's an injection. And it's actually it's when you inject it, it's actually a pretty painful experience. As in, whatever's in their formulation, it actually used to create this burning sensation. Okay, when you inject it. But then, okay, AbbVie, or I think Abbott at the time, they have this patent, but then they eventually, 5-10 years into the patent, they came out with now this reformulated, pretty much pain-free injection. And that allowed them to sort of like extend their patent life. As in, nothing changed about the drug. And like was it an improvement? I guess like yes, going from a somewhat painful injection, like it wasn't like the worst pain in the world. It's just like yes, it's discomfort over like 5 to 10 seconds, and it's done. But I guess it is technically an improvement of like if that pain is gone. They reformulated it as because like what caused the burning was citrate, and they created literally, if I remember correctly, a citrate-free formulation of the drug, and that resulted in the no burning during the injection, and that allowed them to more or less like sort of extend the runway of their patent. Even
Well,
though
they can
nothing
do that any which way, right? Because that's what pharmaceutical companies do. They'll make a slight alteration that has no noticeable effect, and then like use that patent and to extend their hold. You see that in a bunch of drugs, and then sometimes they'll like pretend like there's some new effect, and there's like none, right? Or something that like you would need a lot of money to like study it to see if there's any like noticeable difference, you know.
Mhm.
And so like effectively they just get to say it, yeah.
Yeah, and one of the reasons, sort of like in this vein of what we're talking about, like so like this drug Humira, like it binds a specific protein in your body, and like I don't think they should have enough. There are other antibodies, or at least the first antibody was like was a it was a mouse and human chimeric antibody, but then Humira came out, that was what they called a fully humanized version. Okay, but then it's like they sort of have like, and I think arguably I'd encourage everyone to look into history. Like this drug like put Abbott or AbbVie like on the map. Okay, and I think it's been in the top 10 drugs like ever since, if not like top 20. It was number one for like a decade, and made them a lot of money. But all that to say is like for a long while they had like a really strong monopoly on just like being able to bind this protein in the human body. And I don't think that's a great thing.
I mean, it's tough, man. I mean, pharmaceutical companies do like something that's extremely difficult, to manufacture something at such a high rate of precision. Um, they do something very specific, very well. High quality assurance procedures, high QC standards. I mean, I think the problem
I
is
don't trust me. I don't disagree with anything that you're saying,
yeah,
but also I also encourage anyone to look into how much they spend on marketing
sure.
as well.
I mean, I think the ads are weird. Pharmaceutical companies shouldn't have ads, like more for sure.
People think, and again, encourage everyone to look into it. Although it's been a few years since I've looked into it, so maybe the numbers changed. But like last I checked, okay, people assume, I think maybe too strongly, that all of these profits that these pharmaceutical companies are like raking in, or let's say that AbbVie are making from Humira, they're just reinvesting them into R&D. There's definitely an element of truth to that, but they're also investing billions in marketing, and billions in like litigation and protecting their intellectual property.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing is like without the intellectual property, they wouldn't invest like the billions of dollars that they need in order for like, the infrastructure, the fermenters, these things that they need, the instrumentation in order to get
Do we
something
need
that's
them
that
to
high.
do it though?
What was that?
But like, do we need them? But do we need them to do it? Right? I mean, we talked about it before, right? In terms of public health, like one that we could have government apparatuses to do exactly this, right? And two, like a lot of, even as it stands, a lot of the discoveries, right? Like within the pipeline that like ends with a drug, right, that you're popping in your mouth, right? There's a lot of university money in there, public money that gets added in. Like it's like, do we need them to do this though? Like,
So I mean, it's just if
right.
we're gonna have lower, like smaller manufacturers, you just are gonna need more QC. There's gonna need to be more QC like scientists that are actually doing the due diligence checks. And then, but in terms of like competition, I'm okay with it. If in terms of like nationalization, I think I think that there's a good conversation to be had, especially with like the GLP-1 agonists. I think should probably be nationalized. I think vaccine manufacturing should be nationalized. I think those are okay, but having some type of like competition in a market setting, I would probably be okay with just in general, just having pharmaceutical companies produce a product.
Yeah, I certainly wouldn't outlaw pharmaceutical companies, to be very clear, right?
Yeah.
It's just that, like, I guess when I frame these discussions, though, like, like I'm not putting any words into Greg's mouth here,
Mhm.
but like when other people frame these discussions as if like we should be grateful for like their hard work here. Okay, like these places are like intellectual property, like managing firms, right? That's what these things are. Um, and that's how they make their money. Just to Corey's point, like where does the investment go? The investment goes into managing, defending the intellectual property. That's what they do. Um, and um like like I would rather other pathways, nonprofit pathways of getting to this, like like, oh yeah, like because you said before, like if they don't have these intellectual property, they're not going to invest in like creating these new drugs. It's like, well,
Mhm.
we shouldn't have to like wait on them to do that, right? You can, and you can get some profits, right? um in the world that I would create. You could, but like we wouldn't be so reliant on them that we would have to, bend policy that they can get like an absorbent amount of profits. Instead, we would have, like you said, a competition through, a government, like a pharmaceutical, like industry or
Mhm.
whatever you would call it, right? Agency that could create these things, that we won't have to worry about them like having find a profit to do something. Well, we'll just do it ourselves. If it's a thing that's possible, then we can just do that. We can just invest in that. We can invest in like universities, right? To be able to do these, or some sort of research outfit that maybe not necessarily a profit center. I don't know. I'm saying lots of
Yeah.
stuff here, but like, yeah.
And also, so you brought up the GLP-1 agonists. Okay, I haven't done a deep dive into but I believe semaglutide or like Wegovy or Ozempic, they were patented at one point, right? I think the patent may be like running out.
I think that they're both there. I think they're both patented still.
Okay, but like, but why should that be patentable? Because I don't think that's all that different from native GLP-1. I think like the sequence is like, I don't know, 95% similar.
I mean, aren't they adversarially binding to whatever the GLP-1 is like binding to, and then freeing up the GLP-1s that can then have like the positive pressure kind of like feedback on like, oh wow, we're full. I thought that that's how it worked.
Well, like, so I don't disagree with you in terms of like the effect, as in like uh, semaglutide has a longer half life, but has a
Yeah.
longer half life just because like a few amino acids have been tweaked here and there. As in nothing dramatically has changed. As in, I would say, but this is where it's like I don't like the subjectivity of like I don't think anything significantly has changed when you go from native human GLP-1 to semaglutide.
Oh, I haven't looked at the chemical structure of semaglutide versus the endogenous GLP-1s. I don't know. I mean, it's harder to say. I mean, especially with the double and the triple actions of tirzepatide and retatrutide. So I would say it's
Yeah,
probably
those might be separate, but like
yeah,
I think
yeah,
semaglutide has been around for like the longest. I think like one of the first, if not the first,
yeah, yeah, yeah. It was
GLP-1
yeah,
agonist. Uh,
yeah.
and it's like I don't consider that like in terms of effect maybe significant, but in terms of like what is actually done, doesn't take that. It didn't take that much to get that effect.
Yeah, let's check it
Um,
out.
and just one other thing I'll say about
Mhm.
the intellectual property, and that like I'm not like completely against the idea. Like I'm fine with like copyrights and patents. It's just that the way that the U.S. has done it, right? They've just bastardized the process. I think like how they were, more or less how they were originally proposed. Saying, hey, we're going to give a limited period of exclusivity to whoever, like in terms of a book, like you did the work of like creating a book, that you should get a limited period of exclusivity here, which to make a profit, for people to invest, right? Same thing for patents, that like you should have a limited period. But now these things are effective for so many of these categories are effectively unlimited, where they can just go on and on and on. I mean, if the pharmaceutical companies had their way, like there'd be no generics, period, right? You'd have to come back to them every single time. They've done everything they can to like extend their patent period. Like I said, like reformulating reformulating the product, right? For it to go longer. So like they keep that's my issue, right? Like, or if goddamn Disney, like for protecting the mouse, right? For like 100 years, like that's like it's crazy.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah, and so like again, like I do like the idea. We have Corey and I have a a friend, right? Who like wants zero like IP laws and just completely get rid of that. And I'm not necessarily supporting that. Like if it's limited, if it's targeted, right, gets you a chance to make your money. So like it encourages people to invest in creating things. Absolutely. But these things are just like little like tiny monopoly fiefdoms that they keep creating for useful products, and it stifles, and then it ends up stifling creativity, right? Like we should have access to the mouse, right, to do ungodly things with him. Yeah, right, really sick stuff. But like we should be able to do that, right? And we should be able to again the Twilight books, right? They should be probably outside of copyright by now. And you should be able to do that. You could be able to extend these things, right? And people can like create amazing works from that. And same thing with patents, right? Like there was last thing I'll say. There was a patent for there's two patents, really annoying, for video games. If you're a video game player, there are two interesting or awful patents that were created. One, which is not so useful anymore, but would have been useful for a few years ago, was like loading screens. Within loading screens, there like people are we used to have very long loading screens, and it's like, okay, what do you do with a loading screen, right? Sometimes we'd have like little animations play or whatever, right? Something to distract you while like the game that continues to load. Like some people like companies started to create like a miniature game within the loading screen, right? That you could do while what happened, right? Like, which was great. But then one company patented that, and so no one else could do it, right? Like this could have been an area where there are some interesting innovations, right? What can you do within a loading screen? I'm sure some people have some like really interesting ideas. They couldn't do it. That was like so that was like locked away. And now at this point, like loading is just so quick that like the loading screen is like even an issue. So like it's done, it's clicked, right? But then there's another one. There was this video game, and this is like an infamous patent called Shadow of Mordor. It was a Lord of the Rings like type of video.
I remember the game. I think it was popular at the time.
Yeah. Within this game, they had this system of like, when you encounter these enemies and you fight an enemy, right? Like any NPC basically remembers your encounter and then like goes off and does other things and comes back and like grows and stuff. Like it was, I've never played the game, but everyone tells me the system was like quite innovative in the way it worked. It was called the Nemesis system. And like you basically got a rival, and each of these NPCs like would have a different idea of like who you are, and like they'd have like their grievances with you. Anyways, it's super interesting. But like that got patented by the company, and the company has done literally nothing with it. It's extremely popular, really interesting system that was created, right? They patented it, and then from there they've never brought back the series again, and they've never like expanded on this Nemesis series. It just hasn't, and you're just sitting on it, right? How much creativity could have come from that? So yeah, largely, like I have a big problem with intellectual property law. It has to be like, now we have to hit this thing with a weed whacker. It has to be like shrunk. Not completely, doesn't end it, but like so many things. Some things just shouldn't be patented, period, right? Like at all. And then other things like just a limited amount of time. So anyway, I'm off my soapbox now.
Yeah,
No, I agree with everything you said.
The history of the patents is really interesting. So like I said, I'm trying to get into one of the routes one of the roads forward is pursuing like a JD and trying to go to law school to become a patent attorney and stuff. Because it's interesting talking to like scientists and inventors about like their stuff, and so I've taken a class on this. So I just got done actually last month with it. But yeah, it's interesting. So before basically the UK before in England before they left, basically kings, there was no patents. So the idea was that a king just gave, you know, full authority to make, you know, whatever it is, whatever it is that you just got that monopoly, just you got it bestowed upon you, and that was your ability. So so there were no patents, right? You just got it given to you, and that was just what it was. But they ratified the Constitution in 1788 when it was actually put it in there. The intellectual property clause is Article 1, Section 8, Clause 8, which reads, quote, "The Congress shall have the power to promote the progress of science and useful arts by securing for limited times to authors and inventors the exclusive right to respective writings and discoveries." So I think it's pretty cool that there is something like that's in our Constitution specifically trying to promote science, like and technologies from
innovation.
that.
Yeah.
I think that is like legitimately pretty cool, and something that they had. The idea that a limited time. I think that is the key. The key too. It's not in perpetuity like there was with the king, and it's something that allows people to have claim. As an inventor myself, like, I mean that makes sense to me, at least, trying to monopolize it in a world that is capitalist, right? That we have these economies that do exist. So I feel like that is interesting. And yeah, it's like one of the first acts is actually that we pass as a country is the passage of the first patent board, which is made up of the Secretary of State Thomas Jefferson, which is crazy. So they're like signing patents and stuff. The first U.S. patent was granted for making potash, and which is an ingredient used in fertilizer. And George Washington signed that for very first patent, and you can still look it up right now on that. So I think in theory it is like it is interesting. The clauses that you're talking about, Prime, I can definitely see the frustration about it. It's not. I can definitely get it. And especially now with the problems that we're seeing with genetically modified organisms and stuff, and how biosimilar things can be, it is very, very difficult to understand and what's going on. And AI now able to kind of like create all these different unique things. Like, is that unique enough in order to be unique, or is that just a similar step forward that is you need to have like it's called like a eureka something, that where it's like you actually had to transform it into something else. It couldn't have just been the next step forward, which is it's hard to it's hard to convey.
Yeah, but also to bolster Prime's point. So I mean, people have had this argument many times before, but and especially on the same side as our mutual friend that Prime was alluding to, Scott. But many people make the argument that patents promote innovation. I haven't really seen good evidence, but I'm sure it exists maybe somewhere. But like at least from everything that I can tell, at least our current patent space, at least when it comes to certain things, especially in the example that I gave of like this drug Humira, okay, like I would argue the patents reduce innovation because like they had this monopoly on this drug for like 2 decades, and like they had literally no incentive to like do any. Their incentive was, we need to protect our intellectual property and we need to promote the hell out of this drug, and they spent a lot on marketing. Okay, they did not reinvest that, as in like if they knew, I don't know for sure, I'm speculating. But if they knew that, let's say they had no patent, or that patent was running out in 2 years, I would say they would be incentivized to actually reinvest heavily in R&D. Okay, as in like, we know that the competition is coming, we need to stay ahead of the competition. But then what they did is like, we have a monopoly, and then we can just reformulate and come up with a citrate-free formulation, and then just go with that for a while. I don't think that's a good thing. as much as I benefit from pharmaceutical drugs.
But didn't you say
I
that
don't-
there was like the company was built on this medication?
Yes, but then all they did was like rest on their laurels.
But I mean,
For,
but
like-
that's just bad management. But at the same time, like just the fact that they could, you know, they had exclusive rights in order to make it, you know, that allowed them to create a product that was unique on the market that people wanted to buy. I mean, otherwise you don't have patents. You just basically say, okay, I'm going to have, you know, tirzepatide or something. I'm going to come out with this new thing. It's going to be this new thing. And now, boom, it hits the internet. Everyone sees what it is. And then everyone just goes and makes it instantly.
Well, no, because I don't know the alternate world of like if in 2 years there were then 2 or 3 other cheaper alternatives that were biosimilars on the market. I think that's probably a better treatment landscape for patients like us.
Well, I mean, the patent, the 20 years gives people to see like what is the market big enough? Is this going to be a big enough thing to even like worth trying? And other people can work on it during that time. They can't sell it. They can be in through patents, because patents make it, you know, you can actually you have to list out what it is. You have to say exactly what it is, exactly how you're doing it. So you're getting immunity, right? But in return, you're giving away everything. Your full transparency, what's going on, what's the mechanism, what are the studies, all that kind of stuff. You don't have to patent things. Like you don't have to technically patent it if you don't want to, but you know.
Well, yeah, but like all the incentives work in your favor to patent it, as in who wouldn't want a monopoly for 20 years?
So it doesn't like, I mean,
or
sometimes like
10
if you don't want to disclose what's in it, like what if you just didn't want to disclose what's in it? Like,
yeah,
isn't
you
Coca-Cola or something not patented or something? They like didn't want to. That's a wives' tale or something that I'm like. Sorry.
I have actually no idea.
That made like a myth that I might be promoting misinformation or something. I'd heard that was there was like some like drink manufacturer didn't want to patent their thing because they didn't want it to be known, and so.
But even then, just like the principle, like patenting an effect, at least especially a biological effect, seems like very strange to me. And again, just like building in like it has to be a significant change. Everything from what I can tell, you know, the GLP-1 agonists are not like this. At least I can make the case that it's not a significant change from native GLP-1, and yet it's patentable.
Yeah, I was trying to do the blast P like while we were doing it, but I don't have the prot IDs for it. But I'm curious. Yeah, I'm curious about it.
I'm pretty sure it's like whatever, at least 90, if not 95% to like amino acid sequence identity.
Gotcha. I mean, because they're binding to the same receptor, so.
I'm sure there's probably like some slight chemical modification to like increase its half-life. But like, yeah, well, I mean, we see this in biosimilars. I can't just take an antibody, you know, attach, you know, a little PEG molecule on it and say, oh, this is brand new.
Mm-hmm.
That's never going to fly as much as I think it should.
Okay, yeah, Nico's confirming Coca-Cola is a trade secret because of they don't want to disclose the filing IP. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. Well, on this vein, guys, the shortage of chemotherapy drugs brings rationing fears. Doctors are contending with low supplies and unfilled orders of generic chemotherapy infusions that are central to the treatment of a long list of cancers. From the New York Times, doctors treating cancer patients nationwide are facing a shortage of essential generic chemotherapy drugs, a situation that many fear could lead to widespread rationing. The shortages stem from manufacturing problems, shipping delays, and decisions by some companies to stop producing the medications, according to the FDA. The decades-old medicines are challenging to make in sterile plants and command a very low price in the United States, but they are considered among the most effective treatments for some cancers without more targeted options, including some breast, lung, head, and neck cancers. In the case of an injection called ifosfamide, which is used to treat sarcomas, lymphomas, and testicular cancers, doctors are already convening to decide who to treat. Quote, there are some individuals who won't be able to receive this drug even if it is the best option for them, which puts pharmacists, doctors, patients, and families in horrific situations. So, yeah, I mean, So I mean, it's such situations like this. I mean, who should be manufacturing the generic drugs? I mean, what do you guys think about that?
Yeah. So I guess I brought this article up, and I guess strictly speaking, not like a MAHA topic, but I think more of like
Yeah.
a whatever overall Trump topic, because it's like, well, so it seems like there's understandable issues with manufacturing some of these
Mhm.
drugs, as in like, as I think for probably most drugs, I'm not sure, but a certain proportion of drugs, they're not manufactured in the United States. I think they even give an example, like one drug manufactured in Germany, and like this particular plant had like issues with, let's say, whatever sterility.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, but I bring it up because it's like, well, Trump is all about bringing back manufacturing, but doesn't seem like manufacturing in this sense, or it's a slow ramp up.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we should be producing like more things generally. I think it's probably better to have a national production of essential medications within our country. Probably is are good jobs if we're going to need pharmaceutical interventions. Like having that infrastructure here just kind of makes sense to me. Not being
I agree,
100%
but
reliant on another country in order to import all these medications that are literally like life saving for some people.
yeah, I agree. But that's where, so Trump is all about manufacturing, but not in this case. And like,
Hmm.
I agree with you that it would be a good thing to bring manufacturing of these drugs to the United States or Canada. But that requires expertise, as in, like, I'm pretty sure these are pretty sophisticated manufacturing facilities that requires, I would say, pretty specific expertise.
Hmm.
But then, like, this administration and, like, I would say, Republicans overall seem to be anti-expertise, and well, definitely anti-education so far. And so, where you going to find the population to like staff these manufacturing facilities?
Yeah.
Would be my question.
Yeah. I mean, it's true. I mean, I it's interesting. I mean, it's interesting that the generic drugs are not being manufactured specifically too. I mean, it's kind of going to the problem what we were just talking about too, where it's like um the medications they really are, some of them are pretty cheap for what they are. They're pretty, these pharmaceutical companies aren't operating at huge margins. It's not like the ivermectin boxes that are 800-900% profit, right? These things are 10-15%, those ranges. It's not steep.
Another reason why we shouldn't leave it to the market,
Fair.
like if this is some sort of critical drug, then yeah, make it a jobs program, right? Like that would be great. Like within our nation that we can produce these things.
Yeah.
It requires a level of expertise, and it sounds like really it's level of investment, right?
Yeah.
To have like
True.
the sterile facility, and to have the proper equipment, the proper procedures. It sounds like it costs like a fair bit of money to actually do so. And then like, lots of because of the low selling prices, definitely lots of reasons to cut corners. Well, okay, another reason why we should hand this off to an organization that's not out there to make a profit. Then they can do that level of investment. They can have the facilities. Right? Our government can do that, and the price could just be to offset the cost of the taxpayer, right? Rather than like trying to um, make make a money back and and then some, and certainly nothing for shareholders. So yeah, like it just reinforces that idea. This is why we shouldn't rely on them. Again, I wouldn't ban them, pharmaceutical companies,
Yeah.
but just for exactly these situations, um, or even when it comes to the development of uh, drugs or medication or therapies for more niche conditions, right? We shouldn't leave it up to the market to have a profit to take care of these people, to save their lives, right? These people's lives, whoever they are, these unfortunate individuals,
Well, yeah,
right?
because
They're
like,
worth it.
sorry to interrupt, because like there are certain diseases where the patient population is not enough to like justify, like you're just not gonna have enough patients to make a profit unless you're gonna try. And there are examples of like this drug costs $1 million because it's just like a handful of patients in the world.
Yeah. It's tough, man. I think it'd be interesting to kind of have biggest, highest amount. It would be interesting to have the largest medications just be nationalized and have them be like, okay, well, we're just gonna take this off of you, this burden that you guys don't want to have, to low profit margins. We need it anyway. Let's just take this off the market. And once things are off patent, then you can have kind of like a generic version, which is, cheaper, more widely available. And then you have kind of like the bespoke second and third order, like improvements that the pharmaceutical companies have that are, it'd be like, the example would be like retatrutide, which is like the triple action versus, semaglutide, which is the single action, so if you want a GLP-1 agonist, we have the nationalized, cheap, $30 a month version. But if you want retatrutide with
you want the Rolls Royce,
lipolysis, and you want the insulin sensitivity, those two added in, then you have to order something else, and that's going to be $200 a month or something. So it's like people have different access points to it. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to that. Like, let's say this article is largely focused on cancer treatments. I think it's fair to say everyone either directly or indirectly is affected by cancer, and so I think nationalizing some amount of cancer therapies makes sense to me. I realize implementing Prime's program for certain cancer therapies, I think makes sense to me. But that requires investment.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, rather than wars, maybe we could.
I mean, that's the thing, dude, how cheap it is. I mean, that is the other thing too. Like, we're talking about like billions of dollars of investment, which is like nothing nowadays. Like, that is like,
just like pennies. A tiny bit of the federal budget, right? That could be directed to something that is productive, that helps the people in general, that save lives, and not just our lives, right? Because we could also just like market this to the rest of the world, like, oh, the United States have created these drugs, right? We can check to make sure they're safe, but like, we'll provide this for you. It could be also another form of soft power, right? Like, most countries don't have the ability to create these types of things, right? But if the U.S. can provide them at extremely low cost and saving people's lives, not just American citizens, the world, right? Mm-hmm. Like, people would think about that, like, oh yeah. My mother, she relies on this cancer treatment or some diabetes treatment, or whatever, right? And we get that from the U.S. government. There's like a little flag stamped on it, right? The U.S. government provides us.
It's just going to be Trump's face on the tablet.
Or that's how we get him to sign on to this. Like on each individual pill, right? A little image of him. But like, imagine it. Like, imagine that world where like, cheap, or sometimes even free, right? If it was like that low of a cost and it had that big of effect, right? How like the effort was to for like the polio vaccinations, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which that was like a free effort, like sponsored by like the world to just like wipe this thing out. And I think polio's coming back too, but whatever. But like that makes sense. Like, imagine how people would feel about the U.S., right? It's like, my mom is reliant on this, and I'm so grateful for the Americans for providing that, right? Rather than a bomb dropping on them and slaughtering their family. I don't know, just ideas.
Yeah, just spitballing. No, I agree. Or maybe just sacrifice a few data centers and just put up some manufacturing.
Exactly.
Trade off.
Maybe, but one day. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is a completely different subject. But like, you brought up the GLP-1 antagonist.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm still like unsure how to feel about all that, right? Like you said, Dr. Greg, that maybe we should nationalize it, and I'm like I'm more ambivalent on that. That whatever. But like the thought that so many people are on this medication and are reliant on it for like their health. I know there is a population of individuals who, like, in terms of like being able to lose weight, there's just simply, like they have maybe some sort of condition that makes that like impractically difficult for them, right? And for those individuals, absolutely. Like if this is the way to help them, sure. But that's not the case for all the people who are on this stuff, right? And it feels like to me that so much of this is like covering it's a band-aid on the wound that is our poor nutritional infrastructure here in this country, right? That we invest in cornstarch or corn rather than fruits and vegetables. Like those things are more expensive than like the cheap things that are very unhealthy. And that we have food deserts and yada yada yada, right? Or that people are just like too busy to do like full meal prep because they're working too hard. Like it feels like the GLP-1s are just like masking a larger issue. I don't know.
Or a band-aid solution, or both.
Band-aid, yeah.
I mean, I think that the GLP-1s, like, it's pretty interesting that people are losing weight and getting healthier, just by eating less and not, going to, organic foods or, complete plant-based diets or something like that. Like people, it's just showing that I feel like they're people are getting healthier through, their loss of obesity. And I think that's what's happening. And the trials are honestly incredible. Like the preliminary data is showing not only like the weight loss impact, but there's like organ protective benefits for your heart, your liver. There's neural benefits for protections from Alzheimer's and dementia. So there's these secondary impacts that we're just kind of teasing out and understanding now. But it could very much be so that there are a lot of people that are just kind of on it in the future, just be for those benefits. I don't know. I mean, we'll have to see, how the studies of naturally weighted people that are on this, for a long term period of time as a protective measurement. I think that would be really interesting to see. I'd be very curious. But like in general, I think that we have something that can massively improve their quality of life. I think it's immoral to honestly to subject people to a socioeconomic stratification on this. It shouldn't just be that like rich people are capable of living at a healthy weight that's not morbidly obese. You know what I mean? That shouldn't be the case. So we should definitely have an access, universal access to this stuff. That's what I'm saying,
though, right? Like the reason why it's accessible to rich people is just because we've organized our economy, right? Like,
and our food system and all this.
Our food system, exactly. Yeah. So I'm saying that like rather than like we would get more benefits if we made the whole list of changes that I listed, right? Like if we had like if fruits and vegetables were easier to access, right? Just like or healthier foods in general.
Or people get like a food basket with fruits and vegetables.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. Like if that was like a lot more accessible than like like corn chips, right? If we had it so that people weren't working so much that they couldn't do meal prep, right? That they would just be able to work a single job and be able to from there do meal prep afterwards. Rather than multiple jobs, just to get by, right? And then they're just too exhausted to do so, and so it's easier. Let's just go to McDonald's because like mommy is just too tired, or not have food deserts, right? To have more like it seems like we'd get more not great secondary effects if we solved those things rather than relying on a pill. And again, I'm not trying to say that other people shouldn't have access to important drugs. It's just that like it seems like this is just papering over like bigger issues, and it just gives us an excuse to not actually deal with that.
Or like probably some other problem, like this will solve a problem, but probably due to the lack of systemic changes, some other problem will prop up. But also to maybe like bolster your point, although like I understand this is not totally not totally analogous because you know, it's not just one company. But in my mind, there's some parallels to make with like you know, the Monsanto and Roundup thing of like, okay, Monsanto, they make like this like they make both the seeds, okay, and you know, the glyphosate, the Roundup, as in like our plants, they're protected from the toxin that we're spraying all around. Okay, I don't know. Would your feelings change on the GLP-1 agonist of like, if we learned now that like, okay, and again, I
Brought to you by
understand this is not
Snickers.
fully announced, but like, if it was now like McDonald's is now making the pivot, as in they come up with their own GLP-1 agonist. Okay, and it's like, oh, we realized we made a mistake, or rather, we have both. We're part of the problem, but now we have the solution, and now you have your McDonald's version of a GLP-1 agonist.
Beautiful
a
drive-by.
GLP-1 with each Happy Meal.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, would your feelings change? I think my feelings would change, and that something seems off about that for me.
Real quick from chat, what about bone density? Nico, from what I've seen, that those are basically people that are crashing from appetite suppression, and there is no bone density problems like if people actually do weightlifting while they're losing weight from like any of the GLP-1 agonists. I mean, it's tough, guys. I mean, the problem is like the systemic issues with our food. You know, our food's evil? Like, no. You know, there is no moral characteristic with the food, right? So like people say processed food is the devil, and it's like, well, processed foods are really important. You know, I take Metamucil, you know, for my gut health and you know, for my microbiome and all that kind of stuff, and that's processed foods. Those are psyllium husks that are processed. Like the number one most eaten processed lunch is a sandwich, you know, for your bread, that's been processed. Your meat, that's been processed. You know, like cheese, that's a processed food. But it's like, so all these things are coming together. You're probably never going to be able to get rid of processed foods. What we need is like some type of, you know, way to self-control right in this environment that we have all this available, really good food, very nutritious food.
Well, I don't think I'm saying get rid of all processed food.
Yeah.
But I could be
but I'm just saying that what's happening, what happens is that basically there are people that have more or less ability to stop themselves and regulate themselves. When they see food, they eat food, that kind of problem. And in 100,000 years ago, this isn't a problem, right? But now, because there's so much readily of the processed food does do is it makes it food more readily available. And for those people and those calories, it's easier to pack on, and that's why they're getting more obese. And just as food gets more readily available, that bucket of people that are genetically predisposed for obesity in a world like this basically grows larger and larger.
I mean, I don't disagree with anything that you said per se, but I'm not. Yeah, but I don't think that anything that you said is incompatible with what Prime said.
Yeah, but I'm saying is the problem is like harder than that. I guess is what I'm saying is that like we have to incentivize like sports, and we have to incentivize the people that can stay home longer or go on a bike ride after work, or you know they're oh, thank you, objective ethics, thank you so much. It's like it's second order things that we have to like help change our society for, and not just like say this is good or this is bad. It's about like changing society. So like giving more people days off, you know, so that they can live a more active lifestyle. Maybe subsidizing like a you know, a gym that you can go to, so everyone has access to a gym, stuff like that. Like that, those would be the things that I think would be like really like that next step.
That's what I'm saying though. All those things as well. We should be doing those things rather than like telling people that like the answer is in the form of a pill, right? Like I feel like this was like a big issue previously. People would say like, hey, like we have a pill popping society. where we just try to solve our problems with pills rather than addressing like real issues.
Yeah, but now we found the right pill. So
now I found the right pill. Yeah, like I don't know, man. I'm. It's not a hill I'm gonna die on, right? Like you know. And again, like if I understand, like I get the idea of using a practical solution now rather than waiting for like a whole list of systemic solutions that haven't shown up for decades, and probably won't show up for more decades. So I hear you, right? This is very difficult. I'm not saying it's all easy. I'm just saying that like I feel like we have a very sick society, just in general. And we're not actually addressing like the causes. We're just addressing the symptoms. And this is just another way of doing that. Yeah.
I think what the GLP-1s do allow is like a different response to food for a lot of people. So then they can stage their behaviors different and they don't fall into the crash bloat kind of like cycles. And one of the things that is really interesting with the retatrutide studies is that people's relationship to addictive behaviors changes too. So people like kind of go less into those holes of despair and addictive traits too. So it's really interesting, man. It's a really interesting medication that's going to be studied in a huge portion of our lives for forever. It's going to be wild. But with 10 minutes left to go, we unfortunately wanted to give you guys some good news, or is it good news? I don't know. Have people stop trusting science from nature.com. The data tells us surprising stories. Yeah. Some say there's a global crisis of trust, but research reveals where the problems are. From the United States to Europe to Brazil, there is a pervasive sense that trust in science has collapsed. That's what we say all the time here, right, guys? No, we don't. We don't say that. A UK survey published in January found that only 40% of people think that science information they hear is, quote, generally true. Another global poll showed that 70% of people believe that at least one false or unproven claim, such as the risks of childhood vaccines, outweigh the benefits. Oof. That's a bad one.
Yeah, that's not a good stat.
Researchers studying this have come to some surprising conclusions. From a global perspective, public trust in science and scientists is high, they say. One of the largest studies, which surveyed nearly 72,000 people across 68 countries, reported a moderately high average trust score of 3.6 out of 5. Let's see where we are, guys. So the mean... Just solid support for science, a survey of nearly 7,200 people. The trust was measured by asking 12 questions. And we are 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth from the top. Amazing.
But you're still above the average.
You're above
3.8 out of 5.
Exactly. That's interesting. That's cool that Egypt and India is so high. That's incredible. Egypt's like freaking love science. Mm-hmm. All right, let's go. Love that. And then
actually, yeah, somewhat surprised that China's like right at the mean. But like, and also Japan is below the mean, which is interesting to me as well.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, that is a really interesting point too. Yeah. Trust in professions. Scientists rank higher than almost all other professions in a 32-country survey of more than 23,000 people who were asked whether those in different job categories were more trustworthy. Number 1, doctors. Number 2, scientists. Number 3, teachers. And these are all the only ones that are above 50%. So a majority of people trust doctors, scientists, and teachers. And then there's a huge gap. And then the members of the armed forces. I have no idea. Where do they get? I don't understand where they get it. And then police, interestingly, and then lawyers.
Clergy is like at the bottom.
I'm very confused about this, where it's going from here. So now we're at 30%. Business leaders, journalists, clergy, advertising executives, social media influencers. Oh no, guys. Is that us? Is that us now? Social media influencers and politicians are in the same trust and professions. I mean, I'm not surprised. I say this all the time, and people are always aghast when I say it. But yeah, I don't think that science has a huge credibility problem, guys. I don't. I think it's Republicans specifically, and here you go, the political polarization of science. And over the last 2 decades in the United States, the proportion of people with a great deal of confidence in the scientific community has increased among Democrats and dropped among Republicans. I mean, we see this constantly everywhere. There's been a Gallup poll that also comes with this. Democrats peaking in trusting science in the pandemic, and then it going down. But I think going to more normal levels, and then Republicans going below independents here, just vastly a huge distrust in science.
Yeah, a huge drop around 2015. But let's just say probably Republicans would say that Democrats trust scientists because scientists tend to be Democrat or left leaning or liberal. I think on average, at least in my experience. And so we're ideologically captured.
I mean, I think that's true. I think that's like true in how now it's definitely true, especially when I don't know any MAGA scientists. I'll be honest with you. I don't.
I've never encountered in all the conferences that I've attended, quite a few conferences. Like I've never encountered like a really truly conservative scientist.
Yeah. But I think that's because why would you? It'd be a leopard eat your face kind of moment. I mean, Trump is literally trying to dismantle our entire, everything that we have as scientifically academia through academia. So
the only conservative scientists I'm aware of are like grifters, right? Like the ones who were within the scientific community, might have had legitimate careers, but then like they turned to like some like dangerous like science denial or I don't know, they just start like pretending like they're the science community is like suppressing knowledge now, right? And I'm the only one who can tell you.
I'm the whistleblower with the secret knowledge.
Yeah. Or these are people who like they move from one like field for another, like from biology to physics, right? They're like, oh, I cracked physics. I have the unified theory, right?
Eric Weinstein.
Yeah. So like that's like the only conservative, the ones that I'm not a scientist myself, so I take that for what it is. But when I hear about conservative scientists, like I hear about them being grifters, like all the time.
Or they just have gone off the rails, like some Nobel laureates have gone off the rails in a very interesting fashion.
Efon, thank you. Globally, 78% of the people believe scientists are well qualified, and 75% trust the scientific method as the best path to determining truth. It's incredible. I think it's like the problem is that MAGA and these natural path influencers are trying to poison the well of legitimate expertise,
or like the food babe,
exactly, or MAHA hottie or whatever she's calling herself now. I don't know. Like the idea of their expertise, they got everything wrong during the pandemic. They always try to turn you into that, right? They always try to say that they got everything wrong in the pandemic. All the conspiracy theorists were right. We were right the entire time. And that's why you should trust us. And it's just, it doesn't pan out. People aren't buying this, guys. Nobody's buying it except for MAGA. But the problem is MAGA is a portion of our country, and fascism globally, so much so that that's actually impeding our ability to have like herd immunity with measles, for example.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So like, as mentioned, I think there's quite a bit of signs of optimism from this, especially like globally, as in like broadly speaking, there's still quite a bit of trust in science, thankfully. But I was, let's say, mildly disappointed that let's say the global mean of trust is only 3.6 out of 5. It's like a 70. Well, I think that is like literally 72%. That's, I would at least like an 80%. But I'm obviously biased. I guess as a scientist, I would want it.
Yeah.
4 out of 5.
I guess that's a 72%, right? For if that was 5 times the or 20x. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's like, it is.
I would not be happy with that grade on an exam. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. It's Germany being below the mean, France being below the mean. Very interesting. Japan for Russia, I can kind of understand because science is seen as kind of like a Western thing, and they're Putin is so anti-West. So, um, yeah, man, I think people get it. I think people understand it, and this is why like I think this is the death rattle of MAHA. You know what I mean? These guys, I think they look strong right now because they're being magnified by our media, and they're kind of like getting this disordinate amount of attention. But at the end of the day, they're not going to fix anything, guys. We know, which is kind of the wild thing. We know that they're going to fail. That's our secret that we kind of know, right? We know that
I
they're
know
not
that
going to
too,
be
but, like,
successful.
my concern is like they're just gonna like move on and forget of like this never happened. You know, we never gutted these institutions and all that stuff.
Didn't do it
We
enough.
never appointed RFK and you know play out his insanity, and they're just gonna move on. Like let's say, I don't think we should ever let them forget, or I
Yeah,
would want them to never forget and never kind of like rub it in their face when everything is falling flat and not
yeah,
working out.
yeah. Um, yeah, I also think stuff like this, man. It's really do why I think the future of science communication is talking to your, turning it on voice mode and talking to Claude or whatever, and there's so much data and trust, rightfully so, in these AI models in the scientific method because there's so much data to chew on, so much analytics there versus these conspiracies. There's just even with Grok, how much they try to get him into this right wing conservative like spin world. Like he learns new data and constantly self corrects. So
Who is he?
Grok is X's AI model. So Elon Musk's.
No, but you're saying he.
He's
So like, is it?
anthropomorphizing it.
You're
Sorry,
anthropomorphizing
sorry.
Grok?
So he's apparently, yeah. I apologize.
I
Grok,
didn't want to apologize. So
Grok,
Yeah,
yeah.
I just was very confused. But go ahead. Sorry.
Grok's, yeah.
you don't know their pronouns. Did you ask them?
I'm pretty sure Elon did some cringe thing where he asked him his pronouns and it was he.
You probably can't even answer that question, Grok.
Yeah. What is an AI? What is an AI, Grok? And it doesn't know. It can't do it. Grok is gross. But I'm just saying, like, this whole anti-science thing is just I think it's gonna fan out, man. I think all these moms that are sitting there in quarantine with their unvaccinated measles kid, and they're just thinking, what am I doing with my life? These idiots, like, yeah, I didn't get vaccinated, and now I'm just like sitting here with my kid having to wait 30 days now. I think that it's going to be women that get us out of this anti-conspiracy like bent.
What makes you say that? Out of curiosity, I'm not agreeing or disagreeing. I'm just not sure.
Dude,
But,
just
what
in
makes you
general,
think-
my anecdotes. This is not true. Not this is just anecdotal evidence. But like 90% of the people that are in the pushing, at least want to come in and debate on TikTok, which is kind of like a selection bias in and of itself, right? That might only select for men because that's like an aggressive thing. But it's mostly men that like push these conspiracies, these anti like expertise kind of stuff. And I feel like women.
No. I mean, that's definitely a lot of women too, right? Like we found out, like during the pandemic, with women were on Facebook, like learning like that bleach is a cure-all.
It definitely
and
does
then part
exist
of
on
it.
both. But I guess my larger point was the healthcare decisions are women for kids. They're going to the doctor's appointments. Dads aren't normally doing stuff like that. I think it's going to be like a lot of moms that are going to be shouldered with this burden that basically reject that and just say, hey, we're just going to like trust the science and go with that and not think about it.
But then, yeah, so I'm neither agreeing or disagreeing. I'm just because like I don't actually know. I'm
Yeah.
curious more or less on how you're analyzing the situation. But then, arguably, would you say that moms started this problem, or let's say with the vaccination, they're the anti-vax movement. Do you think that's a mom-driven thing? But then it's driven by them, but they're also going to lead us out of it because they're making the healthcare decisions.
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm actually curious. What are the gender breakdowns by for conspiratorial? I would think. I mean, my inclination would be yes, like because they were going and it kind of starts. It's really weird, man. It starts in these pregnancy circles doing these like
I just saw with like the home births and the natural births,
yeah,
all that
exactly.
stuff, right?
You're trying to do the right thing. You're trying to figure out what can you do as a new parent in order to really help your kid out. And they're in the right vein, like trying to do this, and then a couple Google searches, and now you're in weird parts of YouTube, and now you're getting fed stuff about natural births, and you're like, oh, that seems cool, So I don't think it's like nihilism or
No, it's not malicious.
Malicious,
like I
yeah.
agree with you, their heart's in the right place. But
Yeah.
I was like, let's say, again, the anti-vax movement is interesting to track of like, I would say arguably started with on the left of like, I would say like rich liberal white women, the LA type, Gwyneth Paltrow and Goop type of individual.
Yeah.
And like, well, those are women, and so like, I think they contributed to the problem, but I take your point. I don't disagree. Like they potentially might also lead us out, but they
Okay.
just, it might be the result of like those moms seeing the consequences on their children and the choices they made, and they now need to course correct, hopefully before any significant damage is done.
Exactly. So gender is, so I asked Opus about this, but gender is always an entered as a controlled variable, not a theorized cause. So these are very like weird data, so you can't really necessarily go for it. But they did say there's specific named theories. The direction is content dependent. So for COVID-19 conspiracy theories, Cassie, Fairhart, and Miller 2020 found men significantly more likely to endorse than women, a gap of roughly 10 points.
And that is reflected in the vaccination rates. That is pretty crystal.
And that held across party too. So Democratic men 32% versus women 22%, and Republican men 49% versus women 39%. That's interesting that it is a Democrat and Republican. Note that this same work, women were the less conspiratorial group. The reverse of the Grant's conspiratorial composition scale result above. Other theory domains can screw the other way, which is why aggregating these across interesting. There's a grand conspiratorial predisposition score that they have that's measured by the American Conspiracy Thinking Scale. Oh wow, dude, I want to take that test now. Interesting. That's really cool. That's something to think about. I'll research this and we'll think about it next week and stuff for sure. Men have more ego. Yeah, Jared. That's what I was thinking. That's what it feels like. It feels like there's.
But from understand of the limited research that I looked into, of like it seems to depend on the conspiracy of like for the reason like some women will latch on to one conspiracy and men will latch on to some other conspiracy. But I think at the end of the day, when it comes to overall conspiratorial thinking, I think it's more or less like even distributed across men and women, or however it is that you identify.
Yeah. We're just like stupidly stubborn. Men are notoriously just bad. Like I'm sorry, but you can't tell me that I couldn't take a grizzly bear in a fight hand to hand. I don't care what you think. Doesn't matter what you think. I don't care. I could take a grizzly bear hand to paw. I could take one out. It doesn't matter. I don't care. Doesn't matter. Poundage, muscle strength. It doesn't matter. In order to save my life, I will be able to take down a grizzly bear.
So you're willing to run the experiment?
Never.
Okay.
Never.
As a true scientist.
Yeah, exactly. All right, guys.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for coming on. I really appreciate it as always.
Always.
Yeah.
Can you give your outros?
Yeah. Thanks so much for having me. And it was nice talking to you fellas as always. Thank you, Corey. Thank you, Dr. Greg. I think I mentioned this to you, guys, previously when the subject came up. But like there was this old show called Sliders.
Uh-huh.
I remember
Um,
Yeah.
actually
yeah,
back
yeah.
in the day. Yeah.
So Sliders, they for people who don't know what I'm talking about, it's like a show where, these group of individuals end up going through these portals that take them to different timelines, right? And they have like crazy adventures.
Mm-hmm.
There was one that I've never forgotten. One world they go into, and it was a zombie apocalypse, which was unusual for them. They had never gone to a zombie apocalypse before, and they find out later on that the zombie apocalypse was caused by a miracle drug, a pill that was distributed to the populace, and then had this effect. It was a weight loss drug. So
Oh, no.
Just throwing it out there.
I'm sure,
I'm
there's
just
some
saying.
symptoms about it too. Sure.
I've never forgotten that one, and it's like I mean, what would the populace take? What would like a huge portion of populace take? Right, it'd be a weight loss pill.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was effective. I mean, those zombies looked pretty slim. I mean, they fattened up on other human beings, but like they were pretty slim. So there's that.
Were the in the show when they if they depicted zombies, were they the fast running zombies?
I think they were the slow ones.
I hate that
can't
stuff.
actually-
It's so stupid. I can't.
What?
The idea that someone becomes a zombie and now they have like all these mitochondria that they didn't have before, and now they like the kinetic action of their muscles is like 1,000 times stronger. Like what?
Dr. Greg, you're speaking my language now. Oh my God, right? Like zombies don't make sense for like a whole list of reasons, right? What about The Walking Dead? Go on a second.
Yeah.
Just give me a second.
Yeah.
Like the freaking Walking Dead, right? Like the idea that like zombies could like bite through anything, right? like and I mean like anything. Like guys, just like a quick experiment you can do yourself, right? Cover your arm in a shirt, right? And then bite down as hard as you can on your arm. See if you can break skin. You're not going to be able to break skin. Humans have like among the animal kingdom extremely weak jaws, right? Like we just can't do that. But in the Walking Dead, you see them like bite through like flannel, bite through the jeans, bite through like work boots. Like what the hell? It's impossible. And remember, these are rotting individuals, right?
They're dead.
Their muscles and tendons. Everything should be weaker, right? Like I get like maybe they could shamble around for a little bit, right? I hear you, right? But like the idea that they could just do that and then they can like easily overpower people, like what the hell? No, 100%. And then Dr. Greg, you're correct, right? Then the running zombies. How long can they do this? How can you possibly do? I mean, if they just filled up, I guess on like brains or whatever, maybe. But like, where are they getting it?
You don't know the power of consuming human flesh. You haven't ran that experiment.
That's it.
So.
It's true. It's true. Maybe when I meet Corey one day, I can run it.
Oh my God.
I'll be wearing all the denim so you can't bite.
Yeah. Impossible. How am I gonna get through it? It's denim. But yeah, like that's it's effing crazy, guys. Zombies never makes. If they're magical zombies, then like I guess all bets are off, right? But like if it's like they're trying to inject a level of realism into it, right? Well, then if that's the case, then zombies would rot in a few days. Like a zombie apocalypse, you could like wait it out, right? Like you could just like wait it out inside for a few days before they just start to like, utterly deteriorate and like fall apart. And in a zombie apocalypse, like the U.S. Air Force would just like utterly dominate, right? Like that's another thing. Like The Walking Dead. How did the U.S. Air Force lose these guys, right? Everyone get inside. We're just gonna like napalm the streets, right? It'd be done. It'd be done. A zombie apocalypse is actually one of the easier apocalypses to survive. It should be.
I think so.
Right,
I think, dude, I got a super chat. Yet again, appreciation for Corey and Prime. Ranks high. Thank you for being on with Dr. Greg.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you guys. Yeah. Thank you. Have fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so true. I have the same problem. I really frustrates me. I don't understand. I always see, the zombie stuff. It's like, I don't know. I try to get into Last of Us because of the whole like microbial, the microbial inner thing. Cause they're like, oh, it's from a microbe. So you'll like it. And then, it killed it for me, but
yeah. Thanks again for the super chat. Yeah. Did I go to me or you? Actually, I don't know.
Went to me.
Okay, all right. Well, then great. Sorry. And sometimes it's linked, and then it doesn't tell me like who actually
Oh,
goes
okay.
to. Sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Go
you
for
can
it. Go.
so as always, great to be here. Great conversation and great sometimes exchanging ideas or debating ideas. But you can find me on Twitch, CoreyCam84, Twitter, X, YouTube, Instagram, Substack, TikTok. It's Corey Campbell. And yeah, as always, looking forward to next week.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Absolutely.
Appreciate you. Have a
Take
good
care.
one.
Bye.
Be well.
Bye. All right, guys. Dude, I really want to take that test. What's up, guys? Dude, it's been a minute. It's been a minute. We're all hanging out again. Look at us all hanging out. Look at us all hanging out. What's up? Dude, so I did a thing with I emailed all my I emailed a ton of podcasts and stuff, and I got 2 hits this week. I actually got 4 in general, so it's been freaking rad. It's been rad. So I did a science podcast appearance yesterday, in the middle of the day. Grok's Science. I'd never heard of it before, but I did it. Hey, Bobby. And so that was cool. It was like a little 30-minute, just kind of like seeing what was up. And then tomorrow morning at 7 a.m., there's a 10 a.m. Podcast show that they have, the science show that they're going to have me on. So that's really cool. I'm really excited about that. And yeah, and then there's another one that's shooting in Vegas August 3rd for 4 hours. So I'm curious if I can make it for that one, but it's a big one, so I really want to go. Objective ethics. I mean, Jaws wouldn't ever even eat people if they would just stay out of the damn water. That's very true. That's true. That is very true. So yeah, it's been cool, man. I've been really blown away at all the I think it honestly, guys, it really makes a big difference. I did it in April, my last slew of emails, versus now. I mean, back then in April my YouTube had like 400 subscribers or something. Now I'm up to like 1.5k, which like helps legitimize the channel a lot. So it's a really big thing to just have, like, everyone goes to YouTube first. Oh, thank you, No Amma Streams. Thank you guys. Yeah, I'm really pumped about it. Yeah, YouTube blowing up really helps me for people outside of in the internet. So it's rad. And yeah, thank you, Michelle. It's taken me 6 years to get 1,500 subscribers. I have no idea how people, like, there's these subreddits about like small YouTube creators and stuff. People will literally be like, "Wow, I posted one short and it got 10 million views and got me 10,000 subscribers. This is incredible." And you're like, "What? How did you do that? What?" Thank you, Michael. YouTube, that's awesome. YouTube is hard to get views, but you're doing great. Keep it up. Thank you, man. I appreciate you saying that. Yeah, YouTube seems to be taking a while, but like, the momentum is wild, guys. It is so cool. It is so cool to see all my other videos on there kind of just like also getting like love and watches, and I think that that's really cool. I have a setup now on how to make thumbnails, which is pretty nice, and the workflow is pretty good. So I mean, I like them, and they actually do just as well as the AI ones. And my AI ones are getting like it's honestly hard to make them because I have to iteratively go through so many different times. It takes more than 10 minutes to make an AI thumbnail because it does weird stuff or something's wrong. You got to edit something out. You're going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Whoa, no way, Bobby, you're so nice. Oh my gosh, Bobby, you knocked out the community award all by yourself. Thank you so much. Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, there's some really cool stuff that's been happening with science. The living cell thing, that would be cool. Um, thank you, Bobby. And then that would be cool. Let's see. Um, let's see if we can find it. Yeah, I gotta like make a video or something on it. So yeah, we'll see, man. We'll see for sure. It's been fun. Oh, thank you, Bobby. Oh, you're so kind. Thank you. What's up, Gilling? How's it going? Yeah, it's just been good though. It's been really fun. It's been fun to see. It's been fun taking that week off. Spending it with my wife. It was cool going to Into the Horizon, which was really cool. I freaking love that little festival. It's really nice. It's also nice to come to a place on social media where people won't shame me for believing in science. You found your people, Michael. we're the uber nerds, so it's all good. But we know jujitsu, so that's why we're cool. That's why we're the cool people. Oh man. What's up, Manny? How are you? Yeah, it's been fun. The festival was Into the Horizon was gorgeous. It's seriously so amazing. Like to have it right on the waterfront in San Diego, like and just have that beautiful sunset. Like it's gorgeous. You're right next to the water and you can just like see the sunset going down. It's incredible. Objective ethics. Oh my gosh, my wife and I just celebrated our 25th year wedding anniversary. Dude, cheers to you. Dude, that's amazing. Congratulations. That's amazing. That is a caffeine molecule on the ground on the floor. Yeah. What's funny is that I was going to mount that thing, but honestly, because of the angle, like it actually on the ground is literally perfect for it. So I just put it there and keep it there. I finally got called an atheist by my oldest daughter in a negative way. Not a science. Okay. Interesting. I was honestly thinking about switching them, like putting the DNA down here, down on the ground, and then this like have be the caffeine molecule. But I don't know. I don't know. I like the DNA, but it's also being kind of like being blocked a little bit. So maybe we just switch it. They are very cool. My wife got them 10 years ago now. From somewhere. It was a set, so they were both from the same person and the same style. Yeah, it's the same style. But yeah, guys, I got some cool stuff planned. I've been thinking a lot in this last week, kind of like how to what to do for content in between debates and all that kind of stuff. That's honestly the biggest thing. I need to get another debate. That's the biggest thing. Was the caffeine because you met at the coffee shop? Oh no, user. Yeah, maybe that's a nice no, but it was just because we both like coffee. We just like both love caffeine. Oh wow, it took me until my mid 40s to admit to my family that I'm an atheist. Yeah, It's crazy, man. It is wild. There's a Born Again Atheist show on here I watch a lot too. Oh yeah. What's her name? She's awesome. She's a great live. I really like her. Yeah, exactly. User. No, I don't think there's any special meaning. The DNA one is obviously because I'm a molecular biologist, so that's definitely because of me. And she actually named our dog Helix because of it. His official name is Helix, so double helix. That's what his official name is. Pretty funny. It's a really good, really cool name. Helix is one of a kind, though. He's definitely a one of a kind dog, so we're definitely never gonna have another one of him. So I know, isn't that sick? I think it's such a cool Helix. Helix is genius. So it is very cool. But yeah, guys, things are going well. My with everything, and my family's been really good. Yeah, we're just having fun, you know. My dog is named Squatch after Sasquatch. That's nice. We'll definitely take this. I want to take this psychometrics conspiracy test for sure to see how conspiratorial I am. For sure, I will do that. But yeah, I was gonna just like have an early night tonight. I know, like, I haven't been streaming this last week, and then I'm taking an early night tonight. But it's just because of tomorrow morning. I got to be up at 6:00, so I got to be up at 6 a.m. Got to take a shower. Got to get ready, wake up, and then get going. So I think it's like an hour in the morning, so nothing big. It's like a friendly interview, so I don't think that there's no fear. And yeah, I'm excited, guys. Things are going good. I put a bunch of emails and submissions into some talent and modeling agencies, so that'll be cool. Where would one find that? I'll post it in the general chat. I put it on Discord. But yeah, anyway, guys, thanks for being here. I appreciate you. Thank you for stopping by. And I'm still alive. We're still kicking. I'll probably do like a stream tomorrow morning after I Yeah, I'm gonna do. I found I think that was really cool. They've done a bunch of studies before that, so I actually really like their lab and what they do. I'm gonna go do a deep dive of it, for sure. Like I'm gonna do a deep dive, I think, on that. Those are the great content. Thank you, Jared. Oh, thank you, man. That's cool. Thank you, Jared. Keep growing the channel. Definitely enjoyed your past debates with Hovid and the anti-vaxxers. Need more Americape. Yeah, thanks, bro. Thank you, man. I don't think that they're ready for the Americape. Nobody is. Nobody's ready for the Americape. They don't see that happening. But honestly, guys, it's another reason why I feel like the left needs to be more patriotic, like more brashedly over the top patriotic, like steal that from MAGA because they hate America, guys. Remember, like MAGA hates America. They have this fake version of reality in their heads that it's like America was this all white nation, and we know that was never true, right? In the 1950s, that was never true. And so what they're trying to create is a fantasy, and they legitimately hate what America is and stands for so many people. And the best thing that the left could do would be to take that vacuum, right? Take that vacuum that they're giving to us and run with it. Like if MAGA doesn't see America as the shining city on the hill, then Democrats should, We were told it was a melting pot in the 80s. Yeah. I mean, Michael, exactly. I mean, a melting pot, like, a nice salad, like whatever you want to call it, The love America, except for most of the people in it and most of its government. Yeah. I think you can, be real, like in the best moments of criticizing politics, we're trying to be patriotic in those moments and trying to make a better country. That is what patriotism is. That's what the definition of patriotism is. I mean, patriotism, the feeling of love, devotion, and sense of attachment to one's country or state. It involves identifying with fellow citizens, supporting national institutions, and actively participating in the community to improve and defend the nation's well-being. Like by advocating for single payer private provider systems, you're being a patriot. Exactly. Patriotism is upholding and believing in the Constitution. Exactly, Jared. Exactly. And they don't believe that. They just want to give Trump as much power as they can. They don't believe in the Constitution. They don't believe in the Constitution. What's nationalism? So nationalism is usually the malignant form of like what people see as patriotism. This is what I think people conflate in their minds when they think patriot and they see someone with like MAGA with flags and everyone. They're actually a nationalist. They're not a patriot necessarily. So a nationalist is an ideology that emphasizes collective loyalty, devotion, and allegiance to a nation or nation state, asserting that its cultural, historical, and political interests should take precedent over individual or global interests. It is the driving force behind the belief that a nation should have its own sovereign, self-governing state. So, I think that you can have a sovereign state, obviously, but to think that you're the best of everyone else and you're always going to be the best, and that's why you should be making decisions for other people, that is awful. Whoa, thank you so much. Will C5300, thank you so much. What's your thoughts on incorporating AI and speech to text? Oh, okay. What are your thoughts on incorporating AI and speech to text in healthcare? Thank you for your thoughts. Oh, thank you, man. Well, I am a research scientist, not a physician. So, but I am personally like really interested in that stuff, just so that people can have. I think in the future you're going to have basically an LLM that your physician has that you talk to, and then that LLM relays what you've been talking about to your physician and be like, hey, he was asking about this, this is what you should probably have on conversations with him about this. So I think that that's going to be in the future for sure. And I think that if it gets people more acute and better care, then I'd be for it. I think especially in rural cities, I would think that it'd be even harder to find a physician. So it'd probably be really good over there for, access. I would think that it'd be a really good idea there too. Love my country, hate the leader. There you go. Oh, no way. There was a guy that was interviewed after he lost $30,000 in Trump's crypto scheme. He blamed the Dems. Oh my gosh. Oh, that's so funny. Probably blame Biden. Biden derangement syndrome, dude. Obama, like the wild, how, oh man. AI is a tool. All tools should be used to improve the health and well-being of as many people as possible. I think so too. Objective ethics. I think like we should use the fact that these companies want to do AI so badly and create these data centers so badly. You should use that as an ability to tax the hell out of them so that we can improve our communities too with these data centers. Oh, Jerry, that's a good point. Yeah, admitting Trump conned him means he has to admit he made a mistake. Yeah, I think that's a good point. I mean, the latest in MAGA cope is all politicians lie, guys. All politicians lie. All politicians make mistakes. No politician's perfect. Which is like just crazy to me. The idea of like Trump isn't more corrupt than everyone else. It's just that he's wound up being corrupt like every other politician. Like very true. There's a taking jobs versus hiring fewer people aspect to AI. Yeah. Will, I think that definitely is a huge problem. I think the CEO of NVIDIA had a really good take on this. He said that your job isn't going to be replaced by AI, but it's going to be replaced by someone using AI. And that I definitely agree with. Like, I'm actually a huge advocate on everyone like going over to the Claude code. Don't just go download one if you're not already. Download Claude, okay? Download Claude instead of ChatGPT. That's like the first thing. And then go to code on the side, and then that's where you kind of like can really go through and really work on stuff. Weird. So that's like the thing. So you want to use Claude Code. You want to use not the chat, but the code feature on the tab on the top left, and then that's where you want to do all your stuff. That's where you want to work out all your stuff. Yeah. Roughly 40% of doctors now use specialized AI platform called Open Evidence or Up to Date Expert AI. That makes sense. I'm a pharmacist and Core have been trying to replace or fill in every level of work with an AI. Interesting. That makes sense. Will doctors make the final call? AI excels at finding patterns in complex data. Yeah, exactly. F1. I think, man, like it's hard to imagine a scenario where a second, if a second look or a second, look at a patient's file could yield some good idea. I mean, like I would, for an experiment, if I had to run through my experiment through AI and I could get some feedback on something that was missing, I would be elated. I'd be amazing. Right. So I think that's definitely happening. Right. It's like trying to figure out and work it in. I make the final call on my job. It's a legal issue. Doctors should too. Yeah, I agree, Bobby. Yeah, I think you have to at least like see. So a lot of people are in the coding world, how they're making sure like you actually know what's going on, and you're not just using AI to run the entire thing. They'll actually ask you what each portion of the code is and why it should be in there. So, like they're going basically like big grouping by big grouping and asking specifically what does this do and why do you need it. So it basically stops people from just copy and pasting all the AI answers, right? I think that makes sense. All right, guys, I'm going to take off. I'm going to go to bed a little early just so I could be up at 6. Thank you guys for hanging out. I appreciate it. It's so nice that we're all here. I was like, is anyone even going to remember me? Is anyone even going to remember? You remembered. Y'all remembered. Thank you. Yeah, it was good seeing you, Bobby. Can AI help us hack the MAGA brain? Malanon, I've thought about using AI and an artificial, like a visor. So like augmented reality and trying like forced empathy where like basically these MAGA like have to put on a visor and they're going into a virtual world where they have to experience what it's like to be other people. You know what I mean? Like, because it seems like there's, you know, creating empathy within MAGA can only happen one person at a time. You know what I mean? Where like Dick Cheney didn't understand gay marriage until he found out that his daughter was gay. And now all of a sudden he's like, oh my God, gay marriage is really important. It's like, yeah, so we just need to have a game where all these Republicans can put on a visor and it just has this VR game of like, now you have a gay daughter. There you go. Oh, happy birthday, Will. Happy birthday. Having the ability to chat with my PCP facilitates through chat has fixed my... Oh, that's good. Nice. Yeah, exactly, Will. Yeah, having your primary care provider like on tap is always a good idea, I think. Yeah, thanks, Efon. Yeah, it feels good to be back, guys. It feels good. I feel refreshed and happy and good to go for a stint here going up. So, gonna probably not be taking any breaks until like the holidays. So, it's gonna be a huge push right now. So, I'm gonna be pushing hard on YouTube and specifically. So, yeehaw. So, anyway, guys, thank you so much. Thanks again. Love you. Thanks for being here. Sounds good, dude. All right, guys. I'll be back, okay? I'll be back tomorrow morning. Not tomorrow night because that's the fireworks and we're going to do a special thing. So, that's not going to happen tomorrow night, but maybe tomorrow morning check me out on like 7 to like 10 p.m. 10 p.m. a.m. 10 a.m. PST. Sorry. Words. Mouth. 7. I'm not gonna tape my my stream, but yeah, probably it's gonna be like probably 7 to 8, and then I might stream from like 8 to 11 or 8 to 10 or something. Yeah. All right, guys. See ya. Thank you. Thanks for being here. Love you guys. Bye. Love you, YouTube. See you guys. Have a good